Sure enough, the mention of Wyatt piqued Brandon's interest. Still, he put on a show of strategic indifference, sending back a breezy text. No rush. Let them talk. I'll make my move at the end. Wyatt knew he couldn't rush this. If he seemed too eager, Brandon would never take the bait. He just checked in with Carter, David, and Frank every few days, getting updates and feigning a deep interest in the project. The process dragged on. More than 2 weeks passed. Wyatt didn't stay idle. He'd often drive over to see Judy, sometimes bringing Michael along. The night Carter was scheduled to begin the final negotiations, Wyatt decided the time was right. He shot Michael a text, asking him to finally make that post. Michael picked a few photos, dashed off a casual caption, and then set the post privacy so it was only visible to a specific list of friends, a list that included the circle of trust fund kids Brandon ran with. Once the post was up, Michael thought nothing more of it. He had thousands of friends on Facebook, a messy mix of everyone from everywhere. He'd posted it a little after 7 p.m. It didn't take long for one of the rich kids to see it. He saw the photos of Wyatt and Judy smiling together, and knowing Brandon had a massive crush on her, he immediately took a screenshot and sent it over. When Brandon saw Michael's post, his eyes went wide with disbelief. He couldn't fathom how Judy, a woman from one of the city's most prominent families, was getting so close to some no-name hick like Wyatt. The thought of the two of them together, of what they might be doing, made it impossible for him to sit still. He went into a rage, grabbing whatever was nearby in his hotel room and smashing it against the wall. A woman, who had been showering in the bathroom, heard the crash and rushed out, hastily wrapped in a towel. She ran to him, grabbing his arm and trying to soothe him. "Brandon, what is it? Are you okay?" She was a junior employee at Crestview Capital and had only just hooked up with Brandon a couple days ago. He'd seen how she was dressed at the office that day, impeccably, almost provocatively, and had sent a couple of texts inviting her to a hotel. To his surprise, she wasn't the least bit coy about it. She'd agreed immediately. They both had their motives. He wanted a thrill. She wanted his money. But Brandon was never short on women, and he only ever saw them as a game. His mind was always on the one woman who seemed untouchable, Judy. He unleashed all his frustration on the junior employee. 5 minutes later, he left the hotel, pulling out his phone and calling Frank as he sped away in his car. "Yeah, where are you right now?" "I'm at," Frank started to answer, but Brandon cut him off. "Send me the files for that project we talked about. Right now." "Now." "Yes, now." While Brandon was frantically contacting Frank, Wyatt's phone rang. It wasn't his parents, and it wasn't Khloe. It was Mandy. Wyatt was in the middle of doing his laundry. He put the phone on speaker, setting on a nearby table as he scrubbed his shirt. "What's up?" "Spit it out, I'm busy." Mandy immediately tattled to her mother, who was right beside her. "Mom, listen to him. My cousin is so mean to me." Hearing his aunt in the background, Wyatt quickly changed his tone. "Mandy, don't be a drama queen, or I'm hanging up." "What are you doing anyway?" she asked. "My laundry." Mandy rolled her eyes. "So, my SATs are almost over. Summer break is like 3 months long. Can I get a summer job at your company?" "No, why not? You don't know how to do anything." "What would you even do?" "I could bring you coffee, give you shoulder rubs." "Your future cousin-in-law already has that covered." Seeing that logic wasn't working, Mandy resorted to blackmail. "Fine. After my exams, I'm coming to New York to find you. If you don't take me in, I'm telling Aunt Sarah." "This summer, Wyatt began, but Mandy had already hung up. Less than 3 minutes later, his aunt's number lit up his screen. "Hello, Aunt Sharon." "Wyatt, honey, I can't control your cousin anymore. If she really does come looking for you, just find her a place to stay and keep an eye on her. I'll send her money." With a direct order from his aunt, Wyatt had no choice. "I'm heading back to Riverwood at the end of June, Aunt Sharon. Tell Mandy to come to New York then, and I'll take her back with me. She can stay with Khloe's mom for the summer. It'll be good for her to have a friend in Riley." "That works." After a few more pleasantries, they hung up. Mandy immediately planted a kiss on her mother's cheek. "Mom, you're the best." Sharon just shook her head, exasperated. Ever since her daughter started high school, she'd become impossible to manage. Every time she tried to discipline her, her husband would intervene. Sharon figured she was almost an adult anyway, so she let go. At that age, as long as they weren't breaking the law, they were probably going to be fine. Wyatt finished his laundry and flopped onto his bed. Sam was outside on the phone with Walter, discussing the new Toasties locations. Now that the contracts were signed, they were in the middle of renovating several new spots at once, and Walter was busy training a new batch of employees. There was still so much to do. Chris was on the phone with Paige, chatting away in Cantonese. No one else in the dorm could understand a word. Alex wasn't there. He was out at a driving lesson. He was the only one of the four who still didn't have his license. After his breakup with Lily, He'd managed to save up some money, not only paying for the driving course himself, but also not asking his parents for spending money for months. His relationship with Lily had left a mark. The guy who, at the beginning of freshman year, couldn't shut up about finding a girlfriend, now had a new mantra he'd repeat to anyone who would listen. Dating? I'd rather get a root canal. Wyatt scanned the room and saw a mosquito buzzing around his head. He swatted at the air a couple of times, driving it away before pulling his bed curtain closed. Propping his pillow against the wall, he sent a video call to Khloe. She answered almost immediately. In late May, the temperature in New York was already climbing toward 85 degrees. Khloe was wearing a face mask and a light set of pajamas, laughing and gossiping with her 3 roommates. Wyatt didn't interrupt, just listened quietly. Isabelle's voice was the loudest. After dishing on a rumor about one of their professors, she announced, "Oh, by the way, Michael's mom invited me over to their place for dinner tomorrow." I said yes. I don't have class in the afternoon, so I was thinking of stopping by his office first. What should I wear? I need something that will absolutely blow them away. Ashley pointed to the phone propped up on Khloe's stand. You should ask Wyatt. Isabelle actually leaned over, adjusting the phone so it was aimed right at her. Just as she was about to speak, Khloe quickly covered the neckline of her pajamas. Hey, watch it. Wyatt grinned. It's fine. You don't have to cover up. There's nothing there to see. Isabelle rolled her eyes, completely used to Wyatt's jabs about her flat chest. Okay, Wyatt, I'm serious. What kind of outfit get the guy's attention? Balenciaga logo tights, he said without missing a beat, and a pair of studded Christian Louboutin heels. Wow, you had that answer ready to go. Isabelle pouted and called him a pig, then ignored him. The persona she was cultivating for Michael wasn't quite ready for logo tights and stilettos, especially not for a dinner with his mother. Before long, all the girls had climbed into their beds. The once lively room fell quiet. After Khloe finished with her mask, she turned off the lights and, guided by the soft glow of her phone, got into bed. They switched to a voice call. About half an hour later, Khloe heard a soft, rhythmic snore from the other end. This wasn't the first time Wyatt had fallen asleep mid-conversation. She was used to it. She ended the call, turned off her phone, and prepared to sleep. But maybe because she'd napped earlier, she found herself tossing and turning, unable to drift off. After a few minutes, she remembered what Wyatt had said. She turned her phone back on. Opening a shopping app, she searched for the Balenciaga items he'd mentioned. She clicked on the product page, glanced at the pictures, and then, with a flick of her thumb, added them to her cart. The next day, Wyatt woke up early. After a quick breakfast at the dining hall, he drove to the office alone. With finals just a month away, Chris, Sam, and Alex didn't dare skip class. The best student this year, surprisingly, wasn't Sam but Alex. After failing a class last year, he hadn't missed a single lecture and often signed in for all 4 of them during the big public courses. Morning, Wyatt. Morning. Wyatt ran into Frank and David at the office entrance. He asked casually, how are the talks going? David smiled. Pretty smoothly, actually. Wyatt nodded. Try to nail down the details this week. We can get ready to sign the contract next week. Got it. When Wyatt got to his office, Carter was already waiting for him. As soon as Wyatt walked in, Carter said impatiently, I'm more and more convinced this parental guy is a total fraud. No matter how low I go on the price, he just agrees. It's like he's only after our money. He doesn't even have a detailed plan for how to use the investment. I already dropped a hint to Frank, Wyatt said calmly. Crestview Capital will probably be in touch with him in the next day or 2. Don't worry. We'll just drag it out a little longer. What if they don't take the bait? Wyatt smiled. We'll have an answer by June 1st at the latest. Just wait. Seeing Wyatt's confidence, Carter didn't press the issue. Meanwhile, at the Crestview Capital headquarters, a team lead under Brandon held the Cloud Universe project proposal and knocked on Brandon's office door. Brandon, what is it? Brandon's face was a dark cloud, his mood still foul over Wyatt and Judy. This project you sent me last night, I had the team look it over. We're all in agreement. This isn't worth investing in. Brandon's brow tightened. Reasons? 1. The investment risk is too high. 2. The timeline is too long. And 3. The amount is too big. Usually, even if a project only has a 50% chance of turning a profit, we'll consider it. But the probability of this one being profitable is incredibly low. How low? According to the risk analysis department, probably less than 5%. Brandon fell silent. Since he was the one who brought in the project, the team lead worried he'd be disappointed and quickly added, but virtual reality is definitely the future of technology. If, and this is a big if, they could actually achieve what's in the proposal, the return on investment would be unimaginable. But again, the chances of that are minuscule. If it were just a $2 or $3 million project, Brandon would have made the call himself, like he did with Paw Print. But this was a tens of millions project. He couldn't act alone. After hearing his subordinate out, he sighed and nodded. I get it. You can go. Just as Brandon was wondering how Wyatt could possibly have the guts to invest in this, a message from Frank came through. Brandon, we're probably signing the contract with the Cloud Universe guy next week. Brandon, full of doubt, quickly replied, who at your company made the final call to invest in this project? Frank, Wyatt, of course. Brandon, the risk is huge. What makes him so sure? Frank, I'm not sure. Frank, but everyone here really trusts him. So far, every project he's invested in has done incredibly well. Brandon thought for a moment, then typed, keep an eye on it for me. The risk is too high. I need to think about it more. Frank, okay. Putting his phone down, Brandon called his assistant in. I need you to order 2 grand opening flower arrangements. The best you can find. Put my name on them. Right away. Also, I'm not available on June 1st. Cancel all my meetings. You have the monthly review meeting on the 1st. You're not attending that either. Correct. But I'll talk to my father. Just do what I said. Of course. June 1st was the grand opening of Aesthetica, Judy's new beauty center. She had posted about it on her social media a few days prior and invited a lot of people. Although she hadn't personally invited Brandon, he wasn't about to miss it. Over the next few days, Carter continued to play games with Parental. In a word, stall. On the morning of June 1st, around 8 o'clock, Wyatt and Michael drove to the beauty center together. The opening ceremony was set for 9:18 a.m., but by 8, the entrance was already swarmed with people, and there was no more room for the flower arrangements lining the doorway. After getting out of the car, Michael spotted several familiar faces, most of them women, all decked out in jewels and designer clothes. Anyone who didn't know better would have thought it was a socialite convention. Why are there so many people? Michael draped an arm over Wyatt's shoulder and grinned. Never underestimate that tomboy's influence. At least half the people here are the daughters of prominent families. Plus, Judy has an older brother. Even if these people don't care about her, they'll show up to give him face. She has a brother? Yeah, Victor Yu. He's the bona fide crown prince of the Gold River Group. 34 years old and still single. I bet you a good number of these socialites are here for him. Wyatt's eyes widened. 34 and not married? Michael shook his head. The guy's just too exceptional. He got into Wharton on his own merit, got his master's in finance, and then went to work for the family business. He started as a hotel manager, but he's so damn capable that he became the group's president in just a few years. And he's handsome as hell. The line of women wanting to marry him could probably stretch from one end of Manhattan to the other. Holy crap. What now? Look, Wyatt pointed at a name on one of the flower arrangements. Isn't that the actress from The Amazing Race? Michael laughed. A celebrity? What's so surprising about that? You have no idea how pathetic some of these actresses become after they marry into wealthy families. Just as they reached the entrance, Judy spotted them. She hurried over and pulled them inside. What took you two so long? Come on, help me greet people. As Judy led Michael and Wyatt into the beauty center, holding both their hands, Brandon, who had arrived much earlier, saw the scene unfold. The smile on his face vanished completely. Many of the people inside were friends Judy had invited. New York's elite circles were small, with only a handful of prestigious private schools, so most of them knew Michael. Having him help greet guests was perfectly natural. Wyatt, on the other hand, was painfully out of place. Besides Judy, he didn't know a single woman there. And these women were incredibly forward, calling him cutie and sweetheart. A few of the bolder ones even tried to touch him. Fortunately, Judy saw what was happening and came to his defense. Posing like a mob boss with her hands on her hips, she declared, "All right, you vixens, stop drooling every time you see a handsome face." "Judy, where'd you pick up this new boy toy?" one of them teased. "He's not a boy toy. He's my partner. His name is Wyatt." "Partner?" Judy pointed to a group of women who looked to be in their late 20s to early 30s. "He's only 20, so don't even think about cradle robbing." "Hey, you've got some nerve saying that to us." Judy sniffed. "I'm forever 18. Haha, you're the star today. 18 it is." As they launched into a lively chat, Michael pulled Wyatt aside. Time flew by, and just after 9, someone came to notify Judy. The opening ceremony was traditional. It had 4 parts: guest check-in, a line dance performance, a cake cutting, and finally a group photo. When the sound of gongs and drums erupted from the entrance, everyone inside came out to watch the spectacle. Michael leaned over to Wyatt and whispered, "Brandon's here too." Wyatt whispered back, "I saw him." "Michael, looks like he really hates your guts. The way he's looking at you." Wyatt just scoffed. After the lion dance, as everyone gathered around the cake to watch Judy cut it, a black minivan pulled up near the entrance. The door slid open, and a young man in slacks and a white dress shirt stepped out. He adjusted his glasses, glanced up at the beauty center's sign, and then strode toward the crowd. Michael was the first to spot him. Seeing Victor he quickly went to Judy's side. "Judy, your brother's here." At the mention of his name, everyone turned to look at Victor. With nearly 100 pairs of eyes on him, Victor showed no hint of nervousness. His expression was calm, betraying no emotion. It was as if he was long accustomed to being the center of attention. Judy rushed to meet him. "Bro, what are you doing here?" Victor smiled and ruffled her hair, his eyes full of affection. "Did you really think you could hide this from Mom and Dad, but not from me?" At this, several women in the crowd visibly swooned. "Bro, you're just in time. Come help me cut the cake." There was a significant age gap between the siblings. It was no exaggeration to say Victor had watched her grow up. In his eyes, Judy, though an adult, was still a rebellious, naive little girl. Judy pulled Victor to the front to cut the cake together, after which they moved on to the final part of the ceremony. The photographer was ready. At Judy's direction, the guests gathered together. "Everyone, stand a little closer, please. Ms. You, a little to your left. You need to be in the center." Judy pulled Victor to the middle of the crowd, but then she noticed Brandon had squeezed his way into the front row. She glanced back, found Wyatt standing in the last row, and waved him over. "Wyatt, you're my partner. What are you doing back there? Get over here." Wyatt obediently walked over and was immediately pulled to her side. Victor glanced at Wyatt, who met his gaze. They exchanged a nod and a smile, a silent greeting, before both turning to the camera. Brandon, who had been standing near the center of the front row, was now pushed to the far edge after Judy pulled Wyatt to her side. As the photographer snapped the picture, everyone was beaming with joy. Everyone except him. His face was a mask of fury. After the ceremony, Judy announced, "Let's be clear. The men can go, but you ladies, you're not leaving until you've all signed up for a membership card. Judy, you're such a tyrant of a boss, forcing us to spend money." Judy immediately pointed at the woman who had spoken and, taking matters into her own hands, told a staff member, "Wendy, sign Ms. Dunn up for a membership card first." The woman, Ms. Dunn, laughed. All right, I'll do it. Put me down for 30 grand to start." Soon, Judy was leading a flock of socialites inside to sign up for memberships. Just as Wyatt was marveling at how easy it was for rich people to start a business, Victor approached him. "You're Wyatt." "Yeah, I'm Victor. You. Nice to meet you. Michael told me you were the one who funded Judy's beauty center." "That's right." Wyatt thought for a moment, then replied with a joking tone, "So that I could be in the center for that photo just now." Victor was taken aback for a second, then a smile spread across his face. The subtext of Wyatt's words was clear. "I invested in Judy for the connections, to get my name out there." Victor understood immediately, which put him at ease. If Wyatt had given a disingenuous answer, Victor would have suspected he had ulterior motives. "Let's go find a quiet place to talk." "Sounds good." Michael followed them. Brandon, watching the three of them, gritted his teeth and followed as well. In the second-floor members' lounge, surrounded by expensive furniture, they sat down. Victor spoke first. "After Michael mentioned you, I did some digging. You're so young to have started your own investment firm. I'm curious, how did you do it? To put another way, how did you build this from nothing?" Wyatt glanced at Brandon out of the corner of his eye and smiled. "One word, gambling. Gambling, right." Wyatt grinned. "I'm not like you guys. I have no background, no connections. The only way for me to get ahead was to take risks. After high school, I worked at a music lounge. It was during the World Cup. One night, I got drunk and stumbled into a betting shop and bought a ticket. I ended up winning over $40,000. That was my first real pot of gold. Once I got to college, I kept doing business. I started with a fresh market, then a small trading company. All the while, I was playing the stock market. I guess I'm pretty lucky. I started trading right when the bull market was taking off, and I cashed out just as it ended. Anyway, before I started the investment firm, I had about $1.5 million in hand. Then I invested in an indie animated film, which added another $3 million or so to the company's account. Everything I've done so far has had an element of gambling to it. One wrong step, and none of this would have happened." "Incredible," Victor said. Michael laughed. "Damn, I feel like your life has been more eventful than mine." Wyatt smiled and changed the subject. "I'm actually planning to gamble on something else soon." "Victor, what are your thoughts on virtual reality?" "Virtual reality? The concept's been around for a while, I think." As Victor launched into a detailed analysis, Brandon looked at the confident, successful Wyatt and felt a sharp, twisting pain in his gut. Wyatt hadn't expected Victor to be so cooperative. They talked about virtual reality for over half an hour, and Victor even initiated adding him on WhatsApp. The conversation only ended when Judy came upstairs after seeing off her guests. She was beaming, patting Wyatt on the head twice. "See? I told you investing in me wouldn't be a loss. It's only the first day, and the shop's already brought in over $130,000. Wyatt laid on the flattery. How was I supposed to know you had so many rich friends, Judy? This is nothing, she said, not quite satisfied. I have a lot of friends who were out of town and couldn't make it. Seeing it was getting late, Victor stood up. I have things to do at the office, so I'm heading back. Remember to come home for lunch. I know. As Victor started to leave, Judy rushed over and hugged his arm, grinning. Bro, about that. Relax, I won't tell Mom and Dad. But on one condition, you have to listen to me from now on. Okay. Victor left. Michael and Wyatt exchanged a look, made their excuses, and left together. After the three of them were gone, Judy didn't even glance at Brandon, instead heading downstairs to chat with her employees. Before, when he met with Judy, he could at least get a few words in. Now he was being completely ignored. It was agonizing. He blamed it all on Wyatt. He believed it was because of Wyatt that Judy was being so cold. He stormed out of the beauty center, flooring it all the way back to his office. The whole drive, Wyatt and Victor's conversation replayed in his mind. The moment he got to the office, he summoned his team lead. Brandon, you were looking for me? That Cloud Universe project I gave you. I want you to start negotiations with them now. But what? But investing in this project would be a total crapshoot for us. The word seemed to hit a nerve. Brandon exploded. If some country bumpkin dares to gamble on it, why can't I? Just do what I said. The team lead didn't dare argue back. He slunk out of the office. But this was a huge deal. He felt it was his duty to inform the chairman. So, he took the project proposal and went to the chairman's office. He knocked twice. A displeased voice came from within. Who is it? Chairman, it's me. About 2 minutes passed before a second voice said, Come in. He pushed the door open and saw that the chairman's female secretary was also in the office. She was dressed in a tight pencil skirt and blouse, her head down, one hand trying to pull down the hem of her skirt. But it couldn't hide the tear in her stockings. What is it? The chairman asked. The team lead quickly averted his eyes and said respectfully, Chairman, Brandon found a project from somewhere and is insisting on investing in it. The chairman waved a dismissive hand. He's your department head. He used to slack off, but now he's turning over a new leaf. Just do what he says. I want to test his business judgment. But that's enough. You can go. The team lead hesitated, then left the office. The moment the door closed, Brandon's father's hand reached for his secretary again. Thursday was uneventful. It wasn't until Friday that Carter finally brought Wyatt some good news. Wyatt listened, a thrill running through him. You're saying, Cloud Universe suddenly isn't so eager anymore. Exactly. Before, they were the ones chasing us. Today, when I called Parental, his attitude had completely changed. Haha, looks like the fish took the bait. Wyatt wasn't entirely sure this would work, especially with so much money involved. He hadn't expected it to go so smoothly. He quickly added, Let's not celebrate just yet. We'll wait until this is a done deal. For now, we keep up the act. Carter nodded. So, after this is over, are we still keeping Frank at the company? Wyatt thought for a moment. No, I'll be the one to talk to him. Got it. At Crestview Capital, with no one standing in the way and Cloud Universe being very cooperative, things moved quickly. On the first day of the SATs, the two parties signed a contract in Crestview's conference room. After the signing, when Carter called Parental, the phone just rang and rang. It wasn't until that evening that Parental sent Carter a text, saying he had accepted an investment from another company and that their partnership was over. Carter forwarded the message to Wyatt the moment he got it. Only then did Wyatt finally let out a breath of relief, a wave of euphoria washing over him. While on a video call with Khloe, she noticed his good mood. Why are you so happy today? Wyatt grinned. No reason. Just been playing games with a moron lately. Who? Khloe pressed. Someone you don't know. Just a very annoying person. Khloe said, Oh, then change the subject. Our school doesn't let out for summer until July 5th. No rush. We'll go back to Riverwood after you're done. By the way, Anna Lane called me. She wants us to come over to her house for a barbecue. It's Memorial Day weekend. Huh? Why did Anna Lane call you and not me? Does it matter? Of course it does. I've been calling her Anne my whole life. You just met her. Hey, you say that like I'm some kind of outsider. You are. Oh, so that's how it is? Fine. Then you can't cuddle with me tonight. No. Then say, I'm sorry. Khloe held the earbud mic to her lips and whispered, I'm sorry louder. Khloe pouted, looking genuinely upset. Wyatt quickly backtracked. Okay, I forgive you. Khloe asked softly, I don't have class tomorrow afternoon. Can you come pick me up early? Of course. The next morning, Frank arrived at the office early. He clocked in, dropped his bag, and went to the break room to get some hot water. Just then, Wyatt and Carter walked in from outside, laughing and chatting. We should play some time. Sure. I've been playing ping pong since elementary school. It's not about who's played longer. Haha, we'll see about that. They were both beaming, showing no signs of frustration or anger. Frank was completely baffled. What was going on? Didn't Brandon already sign the contract with Cloud Universe? How could they be so happy after having a project stolen from them? As Frank stood there, frowning and lost in thought, the cup in his hand overflowed with hot water. With a crash, the cup fell to the floor. The scalding water splashed onto his hand, and he yelped in pain. Wyatt and Carter both stopped. The former even asked with concern, "Frank, are you okay?" "Oh, I'm fine." Wyatt and Carter exchanged a look, the corners of their mouths turning up in identical smirks. Frank didn't dare tell Brandon about what he'd seen. He had a nagging feeling that something was wrong, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. While Wyatt was enjoying the long weekend, the nation's high school seniors were embarking on the longest summer of their lives. Ever since Mandy had decided to apply to art school, her parents had lost what little control they had over her. Now that the SATs were over, all bets were off. She lasted less than a week at home before packing a suitcase and hopping on an Amtrak to New York City. Mandy was afraid Wyatt wouldn't let her come, so she planned to just show up and surprise him. But her mother, Sharon, had already spilled the beans to Wyatt. Around 11 a.m., Wyatt drove to Penn Station, picked up Mandy, and headed toward the music school. "Cousin, where am I staying tonight?" "A hotel near my school. I already booked a room for you." Wyatt's tone was serious. "Let me give you the rules up front. If you disobey me even once this summer, I'm sending you straight back to Philly." "I know. Also, you'll eat 3 meals a day on time. I'll call you. No going out after 9 p.m. During the day, you stay at the office. You can do whatever you want there, but don't, under any circumstances, cause trouble for anyone." "I know. And what's with that short skirt?" "Go change as soon as we get there." Mandy pouted. "Even my mom doesn't care what I wear." "Then I can drive you back to your mom right now." Mandy quickly clung to Wyatt's arm, giggling. Okay, I'll listen to you." Mandy's main reason for wanting to spend the summer with Wyatt was curiosity. She wanted to see if he'd really become a big shot boss. Besides, after deciding to go to art school, she'd missed a lot of classes and had grown distant from her high school friends. Staying in Philly by herself would have been boring. He pulled up to Khloe's dorm building. Khloe came down a minute later. Wyatt had mentioned Mandy was coming, so she wasn't surprised to see her. "Khloe." Mandy's greeting was sweet as honey, and the title of cousin-in-law made Khloe beam. "How were your exams?" "Not bad. I answered the ones I knew and guessed on the rest." Khloe looked at Wyatt. "Are we going to eat now?" Wyatt pointed at Mandy, exasperated. "First, take her to your dorm to change." "A high school girl wearing a skirt that short? Is that appropriate?" With Khloe there to back her up, Mandy retorted, "You're so old-fashioned, cousin," but she still dutifully followed Khloe into the dorm. The three of them had a big lunch to welcome Mandy. Since it was Wednesday and finals were approaching, Wyatt dropped Khloe back at her dorm afterward and took Mandy to the hotel near his own campus. "I've already paid for 20 days here. This is your key card. My school is just a few minutes drive away, so call me if you need anything. I go to the office at 8:30 every morning, and you have to be up by then. Also, if you go out by yourself, you have to let me know first. Do I get any freedom at all? Weren't you the one who wanted a summer job? This is the 9-to-5 life. The boss is always watching. There's no freedom. Well, I want to see your company this afternoon. Grab your important stuff, and let's go." "Okay." Mandy followed Wyatt eagerly. When they arrived at the office and stepped out of the elevator, she looked around like a kid in a candy store, fascinated by everything. As they walked through the main doors, she heard Rachel call out, "Mr. Wyatt," and it finally sank in. Her expression remained calm, but inside, her mind was reeling. She couldn't believe it. Her cousin, who was only a little more than 2 years older than her, was actually the boss of an investment firm. He was just too impressive. Rachel saw Wyatt with Mandy and asked curiously, "Mr. Wyatt, who's this?" Wyatt smiled. "My cousin. She just finished her exams. While she's here, can you help me keep an eye on her? Let me know if anything comes up." "Of course." When Wyatt led Mandy back to his office, she finally exclaimed, "Cousin, when I told my mom you started your own business at school, she thought you were running some small-time thing. I had no idea your company was this big." Wyatt ignored her, called his aunt to let her know Mandy had arrived safely, and then got busy with his work. Mandy wandered around the office by herself. As the workday was ending, Wyatt received a message from Michael. Judy had sent him a voice message that afternoon, inviting him to bring Isabelle and the others to her spa on Saturday to hang out. Wyatt agreed, then took Mandy to the school dining hall. They had just gotten out of the car at the dining hall entrance when a few female students recognized Wyatt's car and hurried over. Olivia, one of them, asked with a bright smile, "Class president, who's this new beauty?" Class president? Mandy looked at Wyatt, her eyes wide with surprise. Oh, my cousin. She just finished her exams, so I'm showing her around. How are you all preparing for finals? Getting by. If anyone sits next to me, remember, let me take a peek at your paper. Haha, you got it. The girls laughed and went into the dining hall. Wyatt followed with Mandy, who stood beside him and whispered, Cousin, you're the class president too? Is that a problem? No problem. I just think you're too amazing. Wyatt got 2 meals and found a table. It was then that Mandy noticed a lot of people were staring at them. Wyatt looked up and said gruffly, What are you looking at? Eat. Mandy pouted. So many people are looking at me. Get used to it, Wyatt said with a sigh. At this point, your cousin gets stared at everywhere he goes on campus. Oh, I thought they were looking at me. Mandy then asked, Cousin, are you really famous at school? You could say that. After dinner, Mandy insisted Wyatt give her a tour of the campus. Thinking it was good exercise, Wyatt left the car and walked with her along the campus paths. Hey, class president. Hi, Wyatt. Hey, Wyatt. Hi. The tour was an eye-opener. At least 20 or 30 people greeted Wyatt. Mandy was stunned. Oh my God, my cousin is so popular in college. Wyatt took Mandy back to the hotel, then video called his aunt again. After chatting for about 20 minutes, he left Mandy at the hotel and went back to his own dorm. As soon as he walked in, Chris held up his phone and laughed. Wyatt, you've got to see the class group me. What now? Someone spread the news about you bringing your cousin to school. Now a bunch of thirsty guys are calling you cousin-in-law in the chat. Are they serious? Wyatt picked up his phone, glanced at the chat history, and then mentioned everyone. Finals are coming up. Shouldn't you be studying instead of gossiping? Get back to work. But his comment only made things worse. The guys in the class started calling him cousin-in-law even more enthusiastically. Wyatt gave up. He took a shower, dried his hair, and climbed in his top bunk. When he video called Khloe, she had also just showered, her face flushed and looking as soft and pinchable as a ripe peach. I'll drive over to pick you up this Friday. We have to go to Judy's on Saturday, and now I have a little shadow following me around, so it's easier if you come on my side of town. Okay, did you just get out of the shower? I did. That explains why I can smell you through the screen. Khloe wasn't wearing headphones. Her phone was on speaker. The moment Wyatt said that, the sounds of Isabelle, Ashley, and Sophie pretending to gag came from her side. I'm literally going to be sick. Wyatt, you are so gross. What kind of shameless person says things like that? I have goosebumps all over. Wyatt remained completely unfazed. It had always been the shameless who get to enjoy the world first. During this period, all the companies connected to C investments were buzzing with activity. First, there was MiHoYo, the earliest investment. Honkai Impact 3rd was about to enter its first round of closed beta testing, and the entire team was in crunch mode. It was common for the office lights to be on until 1 or 2 in the morning. Viven's lingerie brand was preparing for its summer online swimwear fashion show, and the factory was ramping up production to meet demand. Ink Live, though not as well known as other streaming platforms, was seeing a steady increase in registered users according to the data. The OFO bike-sharing project, after securing a $2 million second round of funding, was now burning through cash daily to capture the market as quickly as possible. At this rate, the money would be gone by the end of summer, and the subsequent third round of funding would need to be upwards of $5 million. The good news was that many investment firms were already eyeing the company, with several large VCs actively contacting David Kong. Wyatt didn't know much about how Toasties was doing. Sam was handling it, so Wyatt didn't bother himself with it. His plan was that if the project succeeded, all the credit would go to Sam. Then, when he promoted Sam to head of the future investment department too, no one could object. Wyatt spent Thursday busy at the office, with Mandy shadowing him the entire day. She didn't dare disturb him while he was working, just sat quietly nearby. The next afternoon, Wyatt drove to the Lincoln Center campus to pick up Khloe. As soon as she arrived, she bought a round of refreshing iced lemonade for the entire office staff. With someone to talk to, Mandy became chatty again. That evening, after dinner, she walked out with her arm linked through Khloe's and declared righteously, "Don't you worry, Khloe. With me around, no other woman is getting near my cousin." Wyatt's face darkened. "You little brat, whose side are you on?" He had expected Khloe to defend him, but instead, she just nodded, said, "Good," and then added, "Keep me posted if anything happens." You got it, my ass." Wyatt pulled Mandy aside, good-naturedly, then draped an arm over Khloe's shoulder. "Seriously? You're already planting spies around me?" Khloe smiled smugly. "Scared? Terrified? Then you'd better behave. There's no one on this planet more well-behaved than me." "Wait, why are you looking at me like that?" "Okay, fine, besides Leo." "Oomph." Mandy trailed behind them, silently stewing in their PDA. Back at the hotel, Mandy was sensible enough to go to her own room. The moment she closed the door, she peeked through the peephole. Seeing Wyatt and Khloe enter a room diagonally across the hall, she immediately pulled out her phone and called her mom. "Hi, Mandy. Mom, you won't believe what cousin is up to." Khloe was completely taken aback. When she walked into the room, she saw that the bed was covered in rose petals arranged in the shape of a heart. She stood there stunned for a long moment before asking, a little confused, "What's this?" Wyatt feigned shock. "Don't tell me you don't know what today is." Khloe immediately felt a pang of guilt. "What day is it? Valentine's Day? No. His birthday? No." She racked her brain, but in the end, she had to shake her head, admitting she didn't know. Without another word, Wyatt sat on the bed like a spurned lover and began to sulk. "How could you? Today is the second anniversary of the day we first met. You don't love me at all. I'm mad. Don't talk to me right now." Khloe's mind was a mess. By all rights, these were lines she was supposed to use on him someday. What was a grown man doing saying them first? She was suddenly at a loss for what to do. Khloe put down her bag and sat beside him. She said awkwardly, "I didn't realize you remembered the day we met. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life." Hearing that, Khloe felt a wave of remorse. She took his arm and smiled. "Well, I'll remember it from now on too. So how are you going to make it up to me today?" Even though she knew he was just pretending to be angry to get something out of her, Khloe decided to play along. She placed her hand on his cheek, leaned in, and kissed him softly. Then she looked straight into his eyes and asked, her voice full of affection, "Is that enough?" Their faces were less than 2 inches apart. As she spoke, Wyatt could feel the warm puff of her breath on his skin. It was soft and ticklish, like a feather tracing a line across his heart. "Not enough," he said after a moment's silence. He pulled her into his arms, savoring the sweetness of her lips. The moon was high in the sky. Leo and Sophie were walking hand-in-hand back toward her dorm. After catching up on the small happenings of the past few days, Sophie glanced at the dorm building ahead, then stopped. "Leo, I have to tell you something." "Go on," Leo said, suddenly nervous. She rarely used such a serious tone. "My family knows I'm dating someone." Leo waited for her to continue. "So my dad, he wants me to bring you to Philadelphia to meet them." After she said it, Sophie lowered her head. "Okay." Leo's response was so quick, it caught her off guard. Knowing his personality, she'd expected him to be silent for a long time. He smiled. "But I already told Wyatt I'd work at his company for a month after the break starts. Can I come visit your family in late July or early August?" "Yeah. Can you tell me a bit about your family first, so I can be prepared?" Sophie nodded. They found a bench and sat down, and she began to tell him earnestly about her family. She was a classic small-town Pennsylvania girl. Her parents, though educated, were still somewhat conservative in their thinking. After she started college, they had subtly hinted that they didn't want her to move far away after marriage. The thought of bringing Leo home made her more nervous than him. She was terrified her parents wouldn't accept him. For Sophie, falling for someone wasn't easy, but forgetting them was even harder. She wanted this relationship to last. "Don't overthink it. Just be yourself. My parents aren't difficult people." "Okay, I get it." Sophie paused for a moment, then leaned in and gave him a quick, encouraging kiss on the cheek. She stood up, said, "Good night," and hurried toward her dorm. Leo watched until her figure disappeared from sight, then took a deep breath, a smile spreading across his face as he turned to leave. "Cousin, where are we going now?" It was a little after 9 in the morning. Wyatt was driving, and Mandy, who had just hopped in the back seat, was already full of questions. Wyatt yawned. He hadn't slept well last night and still looked tired. Khloe, sitting beside him, answered for him. "We're going to visit a friend of your cousin's." "Oh, first, we need to stop at a fruit market," Wyatt said. Mandy immediately asked, "Why? Didn't we just buy fruit yesterday afternoon?" "You don't show up to someone's house empty-handed," Wyatt said. "Let this be your first life lesson. Whether you're in college or out in the real world, you have to learn how to be a person of culture. Culture, it means knowing what's in books isn't enough. You also have to know when to bring a gift." Mandy was speechless. Khloe shot Wyatt a look, then gently slapped his thigh. "Stop talking nonsense and just drive." Wyatt had initially planned to buy fruit from the strip near campus, partly to check in on Ron, the owner of Corner Organics. But remembering that Ron's business was struggling and that he was probably still bitter, Wyatt decided to avoid the trouble. He found a random fruit stand on the way, bought a few seasonal fruits, had them cut into pieces, and packed into a clear disposable container. Then he called Michael. Hearing that he had already picked up Isabelle and Ashley, Wyatt drove straight to the Aesthetica Beauty Center. Meanwhile, Brandon was in a pointless argument with Wendy, the receptionist at the center. Ever since Aesthetica had opened, Brandon had been dropping by whenever he had a spare moment, but Judy had been consistently ignoring him. He wasn't discouraged. He believed that pursuing a woman like Judy required relentless persistence. He was back again today, and to support her business, he wanted to buy the most exclusive Diamond Tier membership card. But, Mr. Evans, I'm very sorry, but our services are only for female clients. What's that supposed to mean? You're turning down money. Our boss has already given me instructions. I really can't sell you one. What if I buy one for my mother? She can use it, right? Well, I'm not going to argue with you. Just give me a card. The truth was, the center wasn't strictly off-limits to male clients, but Judy had specifically told Winnie not to sell a membership to Brandon, which was why she kept refusing. Just as Winnie was at a loss for what to do, Judy walked in. Hearing Brandon's aggressive tone, she said as she entered, "Brandon, are you ever going to stop? Didn't I already tell you to stop coming here and causing trouble every few days? If you keep this up, I'm calling my brother." Brandon immediately deflated. He forced a smile. "I was just trying to help you boost your revenue. Do you really think I opened this place because I was short on cash?" That's enough. If there's nothing else, don't hang around here. I'm expecting friends today." It was a clear dismissal, but Brandon still didn't leave. He shamelessly asked, "What friends? Do I know them?" Judy put down her purse, about to answer, when Michael walked in with Isabelle, Ashley, and Sophie. Judy, your spa is so glamorous." Isabelle walked up and leaned affectionately against Judy. "Judy, we had classes all day during your grand opening. We couldn't make it. You're not mad, are you?" Judy rolled her eyes. "Do I seem that petty?" "Huh." Seeing Brandon still lingering at the front desk, Judy deliberately asked, "Michael, how come Wyatt didn't come with you?" "Oh," Michael explained. "He's over at his own campus. He should be here soon." Sure enough, at the mention of Wyatt's name, Brandon's expression shifted. "Judy, can we look around inside?" "Of course. I'll give you a tour." Judy quickly led the three curious girls inside. Of the group, only Isabelle had been to a beauty spa a few times but never won this grand. Besides, just being in a place like this naturally lifted a girl's spirits. Michael didn't follow. He stayed at the front desk. Brandon took the opportunity to ask, "Is Wyatt really Judy's partner?" Michael gave a non-committal but Brandon pressed on, frowning. "Why didn't she ask you? Why him? Is his relationship with Judy better than yours?" Michael smiled. "I wouldn't know about that. All I know is that Judy went directly to him. Speak of the devil." At that moment, Wyatt walked in with Khloe and Mandy. Seeing Michael at the door, he asked, "Where are Isabelle and the others?" Judy took them inside. Wyatt saw Brandon and whispered something to Khloe. She quickly led Mandy off to find the others. The atmosphere instantly became awkward. After a long silence, Brandon suddenly laughed, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Wyatt, how's that virtual reality project you were talking about last time?" "It's all right." Brandon wasn't happy, and he didn't want Wyatt to be happy either, so he decided to lay his cards on the table. He sneered, "As far as I know, your company hasn't closed any major deals in the past few months." "Oh, except for some tiny street food stand project." Wyatt smiled back. "I'm surprised you're so well informed about my company's affairs, Brandon." Seeing that Wyatt could still smile, Brandon's anger boiled over. "I'll be honest with you. I was the one who poached both the Paw Print and Cloud Universe projects." "What? Are you serious?" Wyatt feigned a look of shock. "Huh, of course I am." In the next second, Wyatt let out a huge sigh of relief. "Well, that's a load off my mind." The triumphant smile that had just appeared on Brandon's face instantly froze. Wyatt said calmly, "Brandon, if your company is having trouble finding projects, you could just tell me next time. We can compete fairly. There's no need to resort to these kind of tactics." "What are you talking about?" "Nothing. You already knew I signed both those projects. I wasn't sure before, but I am now." Brandon was about to speak, but Wyatt continued. "Losing the Paw Print project was a bit of shame for our company. But the Cloud Universe project, I never believed in it from the start. I really didn't expect you'd be the one to snatch it away. You didn't believe in it." What Brandon had heard from Frank was completely different from what Wyatt was saying now. Brandon felt like something had exploded in his brain. He had invested $20 million in Cloud Universe. That was no small sum. Wyatt nodded. "It's all in the past, so let's not dwell on it. But Frank is an upperclassman for my school. Now that he's left my company, I hope you'll treat him well, Brandon." Hearing this, Brandon's face flushed red, and he took a step toward Wyatt. "What do you mean? What the hell do you mean?" Michael stood up and blocked his path. "Brandon, I don't care what kind of business tactics you two use, but if you're thinking about getting physical, then I'm getting involved." "Wyatt, you just wait," Brandon shouted, his face crimson. He threw out the empty threat and then sped out of the building. Michael sat down next to Wyatt. "Is that second project really a complete dud?" "Pretty much. So how much did you trick him out of this time?" $2 million. That much money? He shouldn't have been able to make that decision on his own. What are his team and his father doing? Wyatt shrugged and smiled. I'm just as surprised as you are. Beep, beep, beep. Hello, Brandon. The funds for the Cloud Universe project, have they been wired? Yes, they've already been sent. Brandon's voice was practically a roar. Why wasn't I notified beforehand? Why? Brandon, I called you. You were out, and you told me to handle it. I want you to send people to keep an eye on Parental right now. But it's Saturday. Are you deaf? Brandon bellowed. Do as I say. Okay, I'll contact him right now. He hung up. As he waited at a red light, replaying Wyatt's words in his head, Brandon slammed his fists on the steering wheel in a fit of rage, the car letting out a long, piercing honk. 15 minutes later, Judy came downstairs. Seeing the fruit on the front desk, she asked with a smile, Wendy, where did this come from? The cute guy brought it, Wendy said, pointing at Wyatt. Wyatt smiled back. I was just passing by. The weather's getting hotter. A little fruit is good for you. Hearing this, Judy immediately started teasing Michael. Mikey, look at Wyatt. He's years younger than you and already so much more thoughtful. Michael didn't bother to argue. Saying the wrong thing could get him a smack, so it was better to just keep his mouth shut. Judy, where are the others? They're trying out some of the spa treatments. Before Judy could finish, Wyatt stood up and interrupted. Khloe can go, but my little cousin just finished her SATs. Don't let her get mixed up in all this. It's fine, Judy explained with a smile. It's just a basic facial. Only then did Wyatt sit back down. Oh, okay then. Is that guy gone? Yeah. Wyatt scared him off. Wyatt, what happened? Judy asked curiously. Last time, at the opening, I noticed he was giving you a weird look. Wyatt was about to answer, but Michael explained for him. It's because you're so close to Wyatt, and you made him your partner. Hearing that she was involved, Judy looked a little embarrassed. She felt like she had caused trouble for Wyatt. That guy's like a piece of gum on your shoe, she said. Wyatt, if he bothers you again, just let me know. I'll have my brother give him a talking to. Wyatt smiled and nodded. Thanks. Michael, sitting beside them, clapped Wyatt on the shoulder. This kid is no pushover. Brandon is no match for him. The three of them chatted for about half an hour. Soon, Mandy came downstairs. It was her first time experiencing a spa treatment, and she was in high spirits, feeling more confident than ever after just one facial. Wyatt deliberately teased her. Mandy, do you know how much a treatment like that costs? Mandy shook her head. Wyatt didn't know either, so he looked at Wendy, who quickly replied, $200 for members, $250 for non-members. Mandy had no idea it was so expensive. She froze in shock. Wyatt grinned. I don't have the money to pay for that. I guess you'll have to stay here and work for Judy to pay off your debt. Mandy looked guiltily at Judy, who quickly smiled and said, Your cousin is my partner. Technically, that makes him one of the owners of this place. Realizing Wyatt was just teasing her, Mandy stomped her foot, walked over to him, and whined, Cousin. Her sweet, drawn-out plea made everyone around them laugh. That afternoon, Judy treated everyone to lunch. Because she had appointments in the afternoon, Wyatt took Khloe and Mandy back to the hotel afterward. On the way, Mandy chattered on and on to Khloe about her facial experience. Wyatt, who hadn't slept well the night before, was exhausted by her constant talking. As soon as they got back to the hotel, he collapsed onto the bed to catch up on sleep. By mid-June, New York had fully embraced summer. The daytime temperatures hovered around 85 degrees, hot and humid. In the late afternoon, a wind kicked up, and as dusk fell, a few claps of thunder announced the arrival of a storm that had been brewing for days. Boom! Another clap of thunder. Khloe's hand trembled involuntarily. She used to have to sleep with the lights on, only gradually getting used to the dark after she started dating Wyatt. But on stormy nights, if she was alone, she would still turn on the lights. It gave her a sense of security. Wyatt glanced at Khloe, scooted a little closer, and then looked up at Mandy. Finish up and go to bed early. Don't stay up all night on your phone. I know. Mandy was very sensible now. After finishing her takeout, she cleaned everything up and went back to her own room. Wyatt and Khloe went to bed early too. But that night, Khloe held on to him extra tightly. The next day, the rain still hadn't stopped. The weekend also happened to be Father's Day this year, a fact Khloe had to remind Wyatt of. So, during lunch, Wyatt called his dad. Hey son, David was at the dining table, one foot propped up on a nearby chair. His phone was on the table, and in his right hand, he held a small, clear glass with a shot of whiskey. Dad, have you eaten? Eating now. What did Mom cook today? 3 dishes. After speaking, David raised his glass, took a small sip, then sucked in a sharp breath and smacked his lips. Got fish, got meat, and a little something to drink. Your old man is content. Wyatt didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Oh, I didn't call for any particular reason. It's just Father's Day, and Khloe and I wanted to wish you a happy Father's Day. Suddenly put on the spot, Khloe immediately reached out and pinched Wyatt's side. David said cheerfully, "I'm always happy. By the way, your Aunt Sharon was on the phone with your mom yesterday. Said you've made something of yourself, become a big boss. What's going on with you?" Wyatt knew immediately that Mandy had let it slip. He hadn't planned on telling them yet, intending to bring it up during the summer. But since it had come up, he went with it. "My business has grown. I have my own company now. Attaboy, my son's made it. I'm getting by. How much do you make a month?" "It doesn't really work like that. It's more of a yearly thing. My Honda Accord broke down twice in the first half of this year. I was thinking this car is getting old. Maybe I'll sell it and get an electric car. Save money, and it's good for the environment." Wyatt knew what his dad was getting at. He laughed. "Sure, I'll send you a few grand later. You can go buy one. The new Priuses are pretty nice." David quickly interjected, "I was talking about a Tesla. Dad, are you getting a little ahead of yourself?" David had only been trying to gauge how much his son was actually making. Hearing Wyatt's response, he quickly backtracked and changed the subject. The father and son chatted for over 10 minutes before hanging up. In a traditional family environment, it was rare for a father and son to talk on the phone for more than 3 minutes, let alone 10. After Wyatt hung up, he told Khloe to call her father, Charles. But Khloe was shy and hesitated. It wasn't until Wyatt dialed the number for her and held the phone to her ear that she finally took it and said a quiet hello. The father and daughter talked for a long time, but Charles did most of the talking, asking after her well-being. Neither of them mentioned Father's Day. Just as they were about to hang up, Wyatt whispered a reminder. "You should at least say Happy Holiday." Only then did Khloe murmur, "Dad, Happy Father's Day." She immediately hung up. Back at his home, Charles sat, frozen for a long moment, suddenly feeling an overwhelming urge to cry. He knew it was Father's Day, of course, but as far as he could remember, this was the first time Khloe had ever said anything like that to him on such a day. He rubbed his eyes, then excitedly shared the news with Miranda. When Miranda heard he had almost cried, she replied with a laugh, "You're so sentimental. You don't understand the feeling." Right? Only you understand." Miranda quickly added, "Do you think your daughter called you on her own, or did Wyatt put her up to it?" At the mention of Wyatt, Charles, for the first time, didn't sound disdainful. He replied, "I heard the kid's voice in the background." Miranda was quick to lecture. "Then you should stop giving him that sour look all the time." Charles changed the subject. "Are you busy this summer? Will you have time to come home for a vacation?" "It's hard to say. I'll see how things are. If you're not coming back, can I stay at the house? I could take care of our daughter." "You don't know how to take care of anyone. With Wyatt there, you'd just be in the way." Monday morning, Wyatt arrived at the office and called Frank into his office. On Saturday night, Frank had received a call from Brandon, who had chewed him out for no apparent reason. Ever since, his right eyelid had been twitching, but Brandon had been too angry at the time to give him a reason, so Frank had no idea what had happened. He walked into Wyatt's office with a sense of dread. Wyatt didn't greet him with his usual politeness. Instead, he got straight to the point. "Frank, how much did Brandon pay you to be his mole in my company?" Frank's eyes went wide, his face a mask of shock. Wyatt didn't want to waste his breath. "You don't have to explain. I'm not going to press charges. Just go pack your things and handle the resignation paperwork. Don't worry, I'll still have finance send you this month's paycheck." "Mr. Wyatt, don't say it. I know all about you and Brandon. Do you really want me to show you the evidence?" Frank's frantic expression slowly faded into one of resignation. He accepted his fate, lowered his head, and turned to leave the office. After Frank had finished his paperwork and left, David came to Wyatt's office to ask what had happened. When Wyatt explained, David's face was a picture of disbelief. The news spread quickly through the company, but by now, the addition or loss of one person didn't make much of a difference to most, so the matter was soon forgotten. The final exams for the second semester of sophomore year began that week. Wyatt had barely opened his textbooks all semester and was now in a state of complete academic ignorance. Fortunately, the professors tended to turn a blind eye during exams, as if they were all aware of Wyatt's unique situation. He copied as much as he could and left the rest to fate. It was the same story every semester. On the afternoon of the 28th, the last exam was over. After the break started, Wyatt didn't immediately go to find Khloe, as her exams were just beginning. Besides, there were some things at the office he needed to handle. He also had to find a position for Leo. As good friends who had traded pirated DVDs back in middle school, Wyatt had already given this some thought. Leo was a business major, a field similar to Wyatt's finance degree. Wyatt had searched for a future career path for his major and decided to have Leo work under Greg Peters as his assistant for now. Since they were in the same field, Leo could learn a lot from him that he wouldn't learn in school. Leo finished his last exam on the 30th and came to the office that same day with his luggage. Wyatt didn't beat around the bush, setting up his desk right next to Greg's before taking him into his office. I originally thought about putting you in a management role, but no one here knows you. If you just parachuted into a department as a manager, even if they listened to you, they wouldn't respect you. Greg's in the same field, and he's in the investment department. Following him will be good for you in the long run. Leo grinned sheepishly. I'll do whatever you say, but I already told Sophie I'd visit her family at the end of July. Fine. Just let me know before you go. Okay. Also, I've already booked a hotel for you. Here's the key card. After Khloe's break starts, I'll leave the car for you. You have to buy something for your first visit to your mother-in-law's house, and it can't be cheap. I'll Venmo you some money in a bit. It's not a gift. I'll deduct it from your future salary. Leo wasn't stupid. He knew Wyatt was just trying to help him save face. He smiled, about to say thank you. But Wyatt, as if reading his mind, threw an arm around him and said gruffly, Don't you dare say any of that mushy crap to me. I haven't even said anything yet. In those last few days, Wyatt took care of everything that needed handling. On July 5th, he had Leo drive him and Mandy to the music school to pick up Khloe. That evening, the four of them boarded an Amtrak train back to Riverwood. Mandy, I already talked to Aunt Sarah. When we get off the train, I'm taking you to her house. She and your uncle are off and out, so you'll be staying with Riley for the summer. My mom already told me. We still have 2 hours to go. Go back to sleep. I'll wake you when we get there. Mandy yawned and quickly closed her eyes again. Sitting next to Wyatt, Khloe glanced down at the time, then at the dark window outside. When it seemed like Mandy was asleep, she gently poked Wyatt's palm and whispered, Did you tell your parents you're coming home today? Wyatt shook his head. No. What? Khloe blushed and whispered very, very, very softly in his ear, So, do you want to come to my place tonight? July 6th, 2016 was a Wednesday. In the world of married adults, there was no such thing as summer vacation. Sarah and David woke up early as usual and went about their morning routines. David, where are you? In the bathroom. Were you a maggot in a past life? The first thing you do after waking up is squat on the toilet for half an hour. After she yelled, the sound of a toilet flushing came from the bathroom. When David came out, Sarah immediately gave him instructions. When was the last time we paid the utilities? Mid-May, I think. Remember to pay them on your way home from work today. Our boy is coming home soon. David grunted in acknowledgement, grabbed 2 pairs of chopsticks, and brought 2 bowls of noodles to the dining table. The old couple had just sat down to eat when there was a knock at the door. Who is it? You could get it. David obediently got up and opened the door. Standing outside were none other than Susan, Riley, and Mandy, who had just returned from New York the previous night. David eating? Yeah. Hi, Uncle David. Hi, Aunt Sarah. Mandy was always sweet-tongued. After greeting them, she followed the others inside. Mandy. When Sarah saw her, she stood up, frowning. When did you get here? Last night with my cousin. Huh. The couple exchanged a look. David, feeling uneasy, went to check Wyatt's room. He shook his head at Sarah, who then asked, Your cousin brought you back to Riverwood last night? Yep, Mandy said with a smile. Is cousin not up yet? David shook his head. He's not back. Huh. Susan quickly spoke up. That's impossible. I saw Wyatt last night. At that moment, Mandy seemed to realize something. Her eyes went wide, and she clapped a hand over her mouth. Oh no, she thought. I've spilled the beans. My cousin is going to kill me. But then she remembered that her aunt also knew he was back last night, so she could just blame it on her. Haha, I'm a genius. Sarah, why don't you give Wyatt a call and ask? Sarah asked Mandy, Did your cousin come back with Khloe, his girlfriend? He did. Then I know what happened. Sarah smiled. That little rascal must have spent the night at his girlfriend's house. Susan had no idea their relationship had progressed so far. They're already at that stage? Sarah nodded and explained, Yes, but Dave and I have already talked to Khloe's parents over video call. We're going to meet in person before the end of the year and arrange for their engagement after he graduates. We can't keep the girl waiting. It's better to get married early these days. The young women at my work are almost 30 and don't even have boyfriends, still dreaming about some handsome CEO falling in love with them. Anyway, David and I are both very happy with Khloe. Meanwhile, Wyatt and Khloe were already on their way over. After parking the Lexus minivan his mother-in-law had left at home, Wyatt muttered before getting out. This car hasn't been driven in half a year. It needs a tune-up. Ask your mom later where she usually gets it serviced. Okay. They got out of the car and walked to the front door. He was about to look for his key when he found the door wasn't locked. He turned the handle, pushed it open, and walked in. The 5 people inside froze. 5 pairs of eyes stared at Wyatt and Khloe in the doorway. The moment Wyatt saw Mandy, he knew he was in trouble. This little pest. Why is she here so early? Now my cover is completely blown. Just as Wyatt was feeling a pang of awkwardness, Sarah quickly came forward and warmly welcomed Khloe inside. She glanced at the others in the living room and didn't mention a word about last night. Only then did Wyatt follow them in. "Have you two eaten this morning?" "Not yet." Wyatt put the suitcase back in his room and announced, "We came straight here after we woke up. Didn't eat a thing." Sarah, no longer worried about being late for work, went straight to the kitchen. Susan was on the night shift today and had the day off. Having not had much chance to talk to Khloe before, she took the opportunity to chat with her. After Sarah and David left for work, Susan made an excuse about needing to clean her house and left as well. Once they were gone, the first thing Wyatt did was call Viven. The online swimwear fashion show was scheduled for early August. Viven had been asking for a month when he would be back. There was simply too much to do at the company, and she urgently needed him back to help share the workload. "Hello, Wyatt, are you back?" "Just got back last night." "So, when are you coming to the office?" Wyatt glanced at the time. "I'll be there in about half an hour." "Okay, I'm at the factory right now. I'll head back immediately." "Sound good." Wyatt had just hung up the phone when Mandy was the first to stand up. "I want to go too." Riley, who was now almost as tall as Mandy, stood up as well. "Me too." Wyatt sighed like a world-weary old man, then laid down the law. Less talking, less asking, and no trouble. Okay, the two of them agreed readily. Wyatt soon took the three girls to the office. Compared to the Lunar New Year holiday, the company had many new faces. From the way everyone was working, it was clear that things had been very busy lately. "Mr. Wyatt, you're finally here." Hannah greeted him as soon as she saw him. After giving Khloe a playful hello, she led Wyatt toward Vivian's office. "This is Hannah. You two can follow her and look around, but don't wander off." "Okay." When he walked into the office, Viven was still on the phone. These days, she was averaging 10 calls a day, dealing with all sorts of problems. Wyatt felt like she had lost more weight in the few months he'd been gone. "Yes, this issue must be addressed. Don't let it happen again. If it does, our partnership is over. That's all, I have to go." After ending the call with her usual sharp efficiency, Viven looked at Wyatt and finally let out a sigh of relief. "I was beginning to think you'd never come back." Wyatt didn't bother with pleasantries. He walked straight up to her. "What's the most urgent task right now?" "The proposal for the swimwear show." Viven said, "I got proposals from 2 event planning companies, but I'm not satisfied with either of them. They're on my computer. Take a look yourself." Wyatt walked over. Viven moved aside, letting him sit down. She helped him navigate to the 2 PowerPoint files on the desktop. "I have to go to a quick meeting. You look at these first. We'll talk about it later." "Okay." Wyatt quickly started reviewing the PowerPoints, getting into work mode. Khloe sat quietly beside him, not wanting to disturb him. After a rough look at both proposals, Wyatt shook his head and dismissed them both. He opened a new Word document. His 10 fingers danced across the blank page, typing, "Swimwear Fashion Show Proposal. Theme, Pool Party 2016 Slogan. This summer, why not take your girlfriend to the beach? Preliminary preparations. Stage construction. Budget. Specifics." Wyatt's fingers flew across the keyboard. He wasn't pausing to think. The proposal seemed to be pouring out of him fully formed, as if he'd already written a draft in his head. For the first half, Cecce's attention was fixed on the sharp line of his jaw and his focused expression. For the second half, her gaze drifted down to his hands. They were large, a size bigger than most guys, which made his fingers look long and elegant, like a pair of finely sculpted works of art. Viven had said it would be a short meeting, but she didn't return for nearly an hour. When she did, she saw Wyatt still completely absorbed in his typing. She walked over, glanced at the screen, and frowned. "Are you writing the proposal yourself?" "Yeah." Wyatt nodded without breaking his rhythm. "Their ideas have zero originality. If we go with their plan, there's no buzz. I'll take the lead on this. Just get someone to coordinate with me and execute my plan." Done. Viven had complete faith in Wyatt's abilities. Besides, he was a major shareholder. She'd be worried in trusting this to anyone else, but with Wyatt, she was 100% confident. "Cece," Viven said, a playful glint in her eye. "It looks like Wyatt's going to be here every day this month. You're not going to blame me for stealing all your one-on-one time, are you?" Cece blushed. "I'll come with him." "Right." For some reason, a sense of calm settled over Viven, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. She looked Wyatt up and down and smiled. "Wyatt, you're a business owner now. It was one thing when you were just a student, but it's summer break. Can't you dress the part? Buy a couple of nice suits." Wyatt glanced down at his own outfit, a plain white t-shirt, black casual pants, and white sneakers. "I think this is fine." Viven rolled her eyes and waved a dismissive hand. "Whatever you say." A moment later, Viven was called away again. Wyatt went back to his proposal, and Cece, sitting beside him, replayed their conversation in her mind. She quietly pulled out her phone and, in the search bar of the Amazon app, typed men's suits. After hitting search, a flood of products appeared. Unsatisfied, Cece tapped the search bar again and added modern cut to her query. Then, she started scrolling, silently studying the styles. After a full day at the office, with the proposal about 80% complete, the three of them went out for dinner. Vivian let out a long sigh. I feel like I haven't had a decent meal in 2 months. Wyatt laughed. You can't micromanage everything. Just manage your team leads. I can't help it, Vivian said. The summer swimsuit show, the new fall line we're launching for Memorial Day. It's all crucial for the company. Once these 2 things are done, I promise I'll take a break. Just leave the runway show to me. Don't worry about it. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., get everyone involved in the conference room. I'll give them their assignments. Deal. They chatted as they ate. Afterward, Wyatt dropped Mandy and Riley home before heading toward Maple Creek Estates. On the way, he called his mom. Sarah had been off work for hours. When are you coming home for dinner? She asked. I already ate out, Wyatt said honestly. I'm dropping Cece home now. You should have said so. I made all this food. Tomorrow. I'll bring Cece over for dinner tomorrow night. Okay. Also, Mom, Wyatt began. Cece's mom is working in Philadelphia and can't come back. Cece's scared to be home alone, so I'm not coming home tonight. You have got to be kidding me. Have you no shame? Did her parents even agree to this? They did, Wyatt said smoothly. Her mom even set up a guest room for me. And you think I'm going to believe that? It's true. Wyatt held the phone to Cece's lips. If you don't believe me, ask her yourself. The moment Wyatt had said he wasn't coming home, Cece's face had turned crimson. Now, staring at the phone in front of her, she was so flustered she didn't know what to say. After a long silence, she finally managed to stammer. It's true. Sarah paused. Then her voice broke into a warm laugh. All right, Cece. Remember to come over for dinner with Wyatt tomorrow night. Okay. Okay. Wyatt quickly hung up. Sarah put her phone down and thought for a long moment. Finally, she kicked her husband, who was sitting beside her. David, they say when your daughter gets married, it's like losing her. Why do I feel like it's the other way around for us? They're young, David grumbled. Weren't you the same way when we were dating? Always wanted to be with me. Oh, shut up. Miranda had indeed prepared a guest room for Wyatt, but so far, he had yet to spend a full night in it. The one time he tried, he'd snuck upstairs to another room in the middle of the night. Back at the house, they collapsed onto the sofa, heads leaning against each other as they watched some mindless TV show. Around 7:30, Miranda's face suddenly popped up on Cece's phone for a FaceTime call. Cece jumped. Quick, go hide, she hissed. Huh. Wyatt stared at her, completely baffled. Why would I hide? Cece froze. Right? Why should he hide? It wasn't even bedtime, and she'd unplugged the security cameras. As long as she didn't say anything, her mom would never know he was sleeping over. She finally hit the accept button. Soon, the screen showed 2 faces, mother and daughter, plus a certain dork. Miranda. Cece, have you eaten? Wyatt, we have. Cece slapped his thigh, annoyed. She was asking me, not you. Wyatt obediently zipped his lips. Miranda. Wyatt, I'm going to send you the number for a mechanic. Call him tomorrow. He'll come pick up the car from maintenance and bring it back when it's done. Wyatt, I might need the car tomorrow. I'll call him Saturday. Miranda nodded. Why are you back in Riverwood so early this year? I thought you'd be in New York for a couple of months. Vivian's brand has a big event this summer, and the lady boss is swamped. I came back to help out. They chatted back and forth, Miranda asking a question, Wyatt answering. The longer it went on, the more uncomfortable Cece became. This is my FaceTime call. Why are you two the only ones talking? This is so unfair. Wyatt noticed Cece's pouting face. Right in front of Miranda, he leaned in and asked with a grin, Did you have sweet and sour pork for dinner tonight? Sweet and sour pork? You know, he said, his eyes twinkling. The kind without the sweet and without the pork. No sweet, no pork. So I just had the sour. The moment it clicked, Cece snatched the phone, tossed it onto the sofa, and shoved Wyatt flat. She grabbed a throw pillow and started whacking him on the back. I'm sorry. My lady, spare me. Get lost. I don't want to see you ever again. Okay, stop messing around. Don't touch me. Are you really mad? Go away. On the other end, Miranda quietly ended the call, a knowing, motherly smile spreading across her face. This online swimsuit runway show was more than just a new product launch for Vivian's company. It was a critical marketing event. Everyone, from the top down, was taking it seriously. So the next morning at 10, when Wyatt walked into the conference room, it was already packed. Vivian followed him in and guided him to the head of the table. She made a point of introducing him. This is Mr. Evans. I'm sure you all know who he is by now. The runway show next month will be under his full authority. I expect your complete cooperation. After she spoke, Viven took a seat to his left. Wyatt scanned the room, then handed a USB drive to Hannah, who plugged it into the projector. A moment later, the proposal for the show appeared on the large screen at the front. Let's get started, Wyatt said, cutting straight to the chase. I'm sure you all understand how important this event is for the company. I'm going to walk you through the plan and assign tasks. From this point forward, you'll all report to me. Perform well, and you'll be rewarded after the event. Underperform, and you might want to consider whether you still belong in your current position. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. All right, everyone, look at the screen. First, the theme. I'm calling it Poolside 2016. As the name implies, the event will be held at a pool. I need the logistics team to find a suitable venue. Here are the requirements. As Wyatt spoke, the relevant staff members scribbled furiously in their notebooks, their expressions tense, not daring to miss a single detail. Those are the venue requirements. Now, let's talk about the most important element, the models. Who's the head of business relations? A woman with a fuller figure raised her hand. That's me. How many influencers have we confirmed so far? Only 6. They're all people we've worked with before. Viven frowned. Why so few? We've contacted over 30, but only 6 were willing to participate. Wyatt nodded. That's normal. A lot of influencers only exist behind filter. They die in the light of day, especially at an event like this. But 6 is still too few. Keep trying to contact more. Later, I'll give you the number for the head of talent relations at Ink Live. See if any of their streamers are interested in participating. But we've never worked with that platform before. It's fine, Wyatt said calmly. I'm their largest shareholder. They'll cooperate. A ripple went through the room. People exchanged glances, their perception of Wyatt shifting once again, now tinged with a new level of awe. Also, how many new swimsuits are we launching this year? Different styles, different colors. Altogether, over 30. And last year's? About the same. Then find 40 models. If we don't have enough new swimsuits, we'll use last year's to fill the gaps. And I have specific requirements for the models. Wyatt's tone was firm. I don't want the industry-standard professional models, the super tall, skinny types with sharp features. I want you to find models who fit a conventional standard of beauty. Mr. Evans, could you be more specific? Have you ever seen the Victoria's Secret fashion show? Oh, the woman said, a look of understanding dawning on her face. I get it. Finally, our slogan for this event is, this summer, isn't it time for a trip to the beach with your girlfriend? The marketing department will build their campaign around that line. Got it. Now, let's go over the detailed schedule. Wyatt spoke for 2 hours straight, laying out his vision with articulate precision. When the meeting finally ended, everyone in the room felt the weight of a new pressure on their shoulders, but they also had a clear direction. When Wyatt returned to the office, Cece was still sitting in his ergonomic chair, bored and scrolling through her phone. Seeing him, she immediately put her phone down, her lower lip pushed out in a slight pout. What took you so long? There was a lot to cover. Come on, let's get lunch. Okay. Cece quickly stood up, gathered her things, and followed him out. As they walked through the main office space, she noticed that a lot of people were looking at them. No, not at them, at him. The company was more than 90% female. As far as the eye could see, there were women. Cece suddenly felt a surge of possessiveness, like someone was eyeing her personal treasure. She quickly linked her arm through Wyatt's. What are we having for lunch? She asked with a bright smile. Anything's fine. He glanced down at her, a grin tugging at his lips. It's 90 degrees out. Aren't you hot clinging to me like this? I am. Then why are you doing it? Cece leaned in and whispered playfully, because I want everyone to know you're my boyfriend. That evening, after work, Wyatt took Cece home with him. Mandy and Riley were there, and since Wyatt hadn't picked them up that day, Mandy immediately launched into a theatrical tirade about how wrong she was. Sarah even sided with her. If you're going out, you should take your cousins. Mandy came all this way to spend the summer with you. Wyatt was exasperated. Mom, I'm working during the day. Do you understand work? Well, have I had time to play? Besides, the office is full of people. What would she even do there? Mandy's reasoning was ready. Learn. Learn what? What could you possibly learn from me? Sarah looked curious, too. She couldn't figure it out. Last summer, the cousins had a lukewarm relationship at best. Now, suddenly, they were inseparable, with Mandy being the driving force. Mandy linked her arm through Sarah's. Aunt Sarah, let me tell you, my cousin is amazing. His company has dozens of employees, and all his friends are big shop bosses. Wyatt lunged across the room and clamped a hand over Mandy's mouth. Sarah pushed his hand away and wrapped an arm around Mandy, looking at her son with a puzzled expression. Before the summer, Her sister had called and told her about Wyatt's success, and Sarah had been baffled. She thought he was just running a small fruit stand at school. What was all this talk about him being so successful? Now that everyone was here, it was time for an explanation. Sarah pointed to the sofa. "Sit," she commanded. Wyatt obediently sat. "Now," Sarah continued, "you're going to tell me, honestly, what exactly you're doing out there." Wyatt felt a pang of guilt. "Nothing much. Spit it out." David stood nearby, waiting for the story. Wyatt took a deep breath, looked at his family gathered around him, and his expression slowly settled into one of calm resolve. Just as Sarah was about to speak again, he finally broke the silence. "All right, fine. I'll come clean. I am the founder and CEO of C. Investments. You can call me Mr. Evans. Or, if you prefer, you could just call me the boss." "What? Founder? And CEO?" David and Sarah stared at their son, dumbfounded, their minds struggling to process the words. David was the first to snap out of it. "So," he asked, his voice stiff, "how much money do you have?" "I only have about 100 grand in my bank account, but..." "But what?" "Spit it out," Sarah said, her voice edged with impatience. Wyatt thought for a moment. "But my net worth. It should be over $8 million by now." "How much?" Sarah shrieked, her reaction more explosive than if she'd won the lottery. Wyatt got up, guided his shell-shocked parents to the sofa, and stood before them with a placating smile. "Don't get excited, don't get excited. I was going to tell you sooner, but I was afraid you wouldn't be able to handle it. It was mostly just good luck." But his parents were no longer listening. Their minds were consumed by two words. $8 million. Our son is worth $8 million. After a long moment of stunned silence, David suddenly slapped Sarah's arm. "Honey, pinch me." Sarah grabbed a piece of flesh on his arm and twisted it 180 degrees. "Ow!" David sucked in a sharp breath. Realizing he wasn't dreaming, he rubbed the sore spot and asked with grave concern, "Son, we haven't done anything illegal, have we?" "Of course not," Wyatt said, rolling his eyes. His parents gradually came back to their senses. Amidst the joy, a practical thought occurred to Sarah. She looked at Mandy and Riley. "Don't tell anyone outside the family about this. It could cause a lot of trouble. It's better to be low-key these days." "Okay." The two girls nodded quickly. With that settled, Sarah went into the kitchen to prepare dinner, and soon she was humming a cheerful tune. David lit his cigarette, but after 2 puffs, he remembered the kids were there and quickly moved to the balcony. No one noticed, but in that moment, his back was straighter, his posture more erect than it had ever been before. Charles was miserable. His daughter had been home for days, and he'd driven to Maple Creek Estates twice, but she was never there. He hadn't even seen her face yet. Finally, on Saturday, Charles got up extra early and drove over to the house. He called Cece twice from a gate, but there was no answer. Using the key Miranda had given him, he let himself in. The first floor was silent, not a soul in sight. He did a quick sweep, then headed upstairs. He paused outside his daughter's room and tentatively turned the doorknob. It wasn't locked. He opened the door and stepped inside. The air conditioning was on, the room several degrees cooler than the rest of the house. Charles smiled as he walked in, about to call out Cece's name, when he saw them. Wyatt and Cece, asleep on the bed. Wyatt, who had worked nonstop for a week, including a Saturday at the office, had only fallen asleep with Cece in the early hours of the morning. Both were deep in slumber. Wyatt was lying flat on his back, sleeping elegantly. Cece was curled up on her side next to him, her head pillowed on his arm, one leg and one arm draped casually over his stomach and thigh. Charles's eyes nearly bulged out of their sockets. A wave of fury washed over him, and he wanted to shake them awake. But then he realized that if he did, the one who would be embarrassed wouldn't be Wyatt. That kid had no shame. It would be himself and his daughter. After a fierce internal battle between impulse and reason, Charles reluctantly turned, walked out of the room, and quietly closed the door. He went back downstairs, sat on the sofa, and started firing off a barrage of messages to Miranda. "Charles, that bastard Wyatt slept with our daughter. Charles, I saw it with my own eyes. Charles, Miranda, you have to do something about this. Charles, I can't take it anymore. Charles, if I'd had a knife in my hand, I think I would have stabbed him. Charles." Miranda, enjoying a rare weekend sleep-in, woke up to a flood of messages from Charles. She opened them and sighed. "Miranda, are you annoying or what? Miranda, haven't you accepted reality yet? Miranda, they've been together this whole time. Charles, you mean that kid has been living in our house? Miranda, yep." A massive thunderclap seemed to detonate inside Charles's head. "Miranda, where are you now?" "Charles, I'm downstairs waiting for them to wake up." "Miranda, what are you doing downstairs?" It'll be so awkward when they see you. Get out of there. Charles, so I'm supposed to pretend I didn't see anything. Miranda, what could you do even if you did see? Charles was speechless. She's right. What could I do? Defeated, he got up, left the living room, and went back to his car. With a heavy heart, he sent Cece a voice message. Cece, text me when you wake up. I'll come over to see you. Then he waited and waited. He sat in his car until well after 9 o'clock. Finally, Cece replied. At that same moment, Cece was standing on her bed, brushing her teeth, pinching Wyatt's nose. Get up. My dad's coming over soon. Wyatt pushed her hand away. Your dad is so annoying. Get up now. Give me a kiss. I'm brushing my teeth. Hurry up. I already messaged him back. Wyatt slowly got out of bed. After they had both brushed their teeth and gotten dressed, they went downstairs together. Cece sent a second voice message to her dad. Dad, where are you? Charles had no choice but to play along. Almost at the gate, Cece panicked. If her dad saw Wyatt here this early, he'd definitely get suspicious. Wyatt heard the message and made an eating gesture at her. Cece understood instantly. She sent another voice message. Dad, I'm craving turnip cakes. Can you go buy some for me? Charles knew immediately that this was Wyatt's idea. His daughter wasn't this devious. She'd been corrupted by that little bastard. What could he do? He obediently started the car and drove off to buy turnip cakes. I'm heading out, Wyatt said. Call me when your dad leaves. Okay, kiss. Cece dutifully tilted her head up to receive it. The moment Charles's car pulled away, Wyatt drove home. 20 minutes later, when Charles returned, there was no trace of Wyatt. Cece had even hidden his slippers. Why'd you wake up so late? Charles asked, feigning innocence. I didn't sleep well last night, Cece replied. I saw you sleeping just fine. With your leg draped all over him, Charles grumbled internally. Out loud, he asked, where's that kid? Probably still sleeping at his place. It's over. She can lie now without even blushing. Watching Cece eat the turnip cakes he'd bought, Charles laid out his plan for the day. I'll take you out for lunch. Want to go shopping this afternoon? I have plans with him this afternoon. This is a nightmare. You've been with him for a whole week. Can't you spare one day for your old dad? Charles's heart was bleeding, but he forced a smile. This weekend was not, in fact, a happy one. Cece wasn't thinking about her father's feelings right now. After finishing breakfast, she sat on the sofa, scrolling through her phone while giving non-committal replies to whatever Charles was saying. Around 10:30, the doorbell rang. Cece shot up, slipping on her shoes and jogging to the door. My packages are here, she called out happily. A moment later, she returned to the living room, juggling several packages. Charles glanced at them. More clothes. Yep. If Charles hadn't been there, Cece would have torn them open right then and there. Instead, she took them upstairs without hesitation. She opened the 3 packages in order. The first was a complete men's suit. The second was a crisp white dress shirt. The last was a pair of Balenciaga stockings she'd added to her cart at checkout. She put the stockings in her closet, then spread the suit and shirt on her bed. The shirt was folded and had noticeable creases. It would need to be ironed. The suit itself was fine, but the complimentary tie wasn't a pre-tied one. It had to be tied by hand. Cece slipped the suit jacket on. It was a size too big for her, but it should fit him perfectly. She took it off, placed it back in the bag with the trousers, and then took the tie downstairs. Charles was just about to go check on her when he heard footsteps on the stairs. What took you so long? Cece didn't answer. She ran over to him, a bright smile on her face. Dad, do you know how to tie a tie? Of course I do. I have to wear one for her. Why are you asking? Only then did Cece reveal the tie she'd been hiding behind her back. Can you teach me how? Huh? Staring at the men's tie in Cece's hand, Charles was initially confused, but it dawned on him in an instant. His daughter wanted to learn, so she could tie that kid's tie for him. Crash! The fragile jar of jealousy in Charles's heart shattered, its acidic contents flooding out and pickling his heart. That afternoon, after Charles took her out for lunch, he felt there was no point in staying any longer. He suspected his daughter had been wanting him to leave for a while, but was just too polite to say so. He finally understood what a grown daughter can't be kept at home truly meant. After returning home that morning, Wyatt didn't rest. He called Chris to check on the company. Business was booming over the summer. Both Inc. Live and the bike-sharing startup were starting their next round of funding, with both companies seeking tens of millions. Although Investments didn't have the capital to follow on. As the largest shareholder, Wyatt would still be involved in the process. With Sam constantly busy with Toasties, the investment department was starting to feel understaffed. Wyatt told Chris to discuss it with Carter and see if they needed to hire more people, preferably with experience. Shortly after hanging up with Chris, Abby sent Wyatt several documents that needed his signature. He glanced over them, then called her. He explained he'd be busy and that if she couldn't reach him by text, she should just call him directly, as his phone wouldn't be on silent. Abby then asked, "What about the documents that need your signature? My personal seal is in my desk drawer. If I approve it, you can just stamp them yourself." After Abby said, "Okay," Wyatt joked, "Abby, with me out of the office, in ancient times your position would be the keeper of the imperial seal. You'd be the one controlling access to the emperor. Wield your power wisely." The keeper of the imperial seal? With Wyatt gone, everyone else at the company came to her first, and she would then contact Wyatt for his opinion. It was a lot of work and a heavy responsibility. Abby didn't fully grasp his joke, but after hanging up, she felt the pressure on her shoulders grow even heavier. After coming clean about being a multimillionaire, Wyatt was now enjoying emperor-like treatment at home. David was constantly trying to please him, Sarah had stopped nagging, and he had 2 young cousins to act as his runners. Life was good. After lunch, Wyatt was sprawled on the sofa, playing on his phone. Sarah, enjoying a rare weekend off, finished her chores and headed out to play mahjong. The moment she left, David had Wyatt send him $500 and disappeared to who knows where. Mandy speared a small piece of watermelon with a toothpick and held it to Wyatt's mouth. He ate it, and she crouched beside him, smiling sweetly. "Cousin, I heard the iPhone 7 is coming out soon." Before Mandy could finish, Wyatt spit out a watermelon seed and turned over. "Get lost," he said irritably. "I eat one piece of your watermelon, and you expect me to buy you an iPhone? Are you crazy? I'm not your dad, but you're my cousin. Cousin means nothing. Not even a real brother. Then you're my real brother. Give me a break. I've known Riley since she was a baby. It makes sense for her to call me her brother. You're just a stray I picked up along the way." Wow, Mandy pretended to wipe away tears. Wyatt wasn't falling for it. He continued playing on his phone. But a moment later, Mandy held her phone to her ear and said in a choked voice, "Mom, my cousin hates me. He says I'm a stray, and he only has one cousin, Riley." Wyatt shot up in alarm. Before his aunt had gotten married, she had been incredibly good to him. Back then, Sarah and David were always busy with work and would go months without visiting. He'd often felt closer to his aunt than to his own mother. The last thing he wanted was for his aunt to think he disliked Mandy. He lunged and snatched the phone, but when the screen lit up, he saw she wasn't on a call at all. "Haha, you fell for it. You're such a drama queen. My dad already promised to buy me a phone. I was just testing you. I can't believe how cheap you are." Wyatt rolled his eyes. "So, I guess the iPad I bought you last summer was for the dog, huh?" Just then, Wyatt's phone buzzed with a video call. Seeing it was Cece, his expression instantly softened. He answered the call. "Hey, did you eat?" "I did. I just got back from being out." "Where's your dad?" "He just left." "So, when do you want me to come over?" Cece played dumb. "Whenever. You have to say when." Cece turned her head to the side, feigning arrogance. "I already said whenever." "Nope. You have to say. You want me to come over right now." Mandy rolled her eyes and whispered to Riley, "Our cousin must have been a monkey in his past life. His face changes so fast." Riley giggled, covering her mouth with her hand. Wyatt arrived at Maple Creek Estates at 3 in the afternoon. Mandy and Riley had wanted to tag along, but he told them he had to be home for dinner and would be back soon, which convinced him to stay. The moment he walked into the living room, Cece grabbed his hand and pulled him straight upstairs. "Whoa, what's the rush?" "Cece, I'm telling you this isn't good. I have limited energy. I can't do this every—" "What are you talking about?" Cece shot him a look, cutting him off. "I bought you an outfit. I want you to try it on." Wyatt grinned foolishly. "Oh, I thought—" "You thought what?" Nothing. They went into her room, and Wyatt saw the suit laid out on the bed. He froze for a second, instantly remembering what Viven had said at the office. He couldn't believe Cece had actually taken it to heart and bought him a suit. Realizing his reaction was too subdued, he quickly put on an excited expression. "You bought this for me?" "MHM, Cece nodded. "See if it fits. I tried on a jacket. It should be about right." Before she finished speaking, Wyatt had already pulled off his white t-shirt. Cece, seeing this, didn't leave the room. She just stood quietly to the side, watching as he put on the white dress shirt and the suit jacket. "It fits perfectly," she said. "Try on the pants, too." Wyatt said, "Oh," and unbuckled his belt. Cece pursed her lips and turned around. Once he was fully dressed, Wyatt held up the tie. "I don't know how to do this, but there are probably videos online. I can look it up." "Don't move. I know how." Cece stepped forward and, using the method her father had taught her that morning, skillfully tied the tie for him. It was the first time Wyatt had ever been so formally dressed at home. Curious to see how he looked, he walked over to Cece's vanity mirror. Cece stood frozen in place. Clothes really did make the man. In a suit, Wyatt's entire aura was elevated by more than just a little. Normally dressed in casual, sporty clothes, he now had the air of a young nobleman, a gentleman with a roguish edge. When he wasn't smiling, he even had the intense, brooding quality of a romantic hero from a TV drama. "Damn, I look this good in a suit?" Wyatt said, admiring himself in the mirror. Normally, Cece would have shot back with, "You're so shameless. Who praises themselves like that?" But at that moment, she was silent, her eyes fixed on him. Wyatt was surprised by her reaction. He turned to face her and saw she was completely mesmerized. A sly grin spread across his face. "What? Are you captivated by my charm?" Cece snapped out of it, turning her head away haughtily. "Of course not. Quick, take a picture of me. I want to post it." "No." "Why not?" "The shirt hasn't been ironed," Cece said, inventing an excuse. "We can drop it off at the dry cleaners on our way out." "Fine." They left Maple Creek Estates around 4. After dropping the suit off at the dry cleaners, Wyatt took Cece to the supermarket. They bought a few of his favorite ingredients, and on the way home, Wyatt called his mom. "Mom, are you home yet?" "To a bamboo pong," Sarah called out, drawing a tile. Soon. In the summer in Riverwood, it was still bright out at 7. Wyatt guessed his mom wouldn't be wrapping up her game anytime soon. "Already bought the groceries. You could just come straight home later." "Are you bringing Cece home?" Sarah asked casually. "She's right next to me. I'll be home after this hand." After hanging up, Sarah started playing her tiles faster. Her mahjong buddies began to gossip. "Sarah, I'm so jealous. You're going to be a grandma soon, aren't you?" No, not that fast. I heard your son is really successful. Started his own business in college and even bought a car." "Oh, don't listen to those rumors." Sarah kept deflecting, but a smile never left her face. After winning the hand, she hurriedly packed up and rushed home. For her, mahjong was just a weekend pastime. From the moment Wyatt was born, nothing had ever been more important than her family. The next day was Monday. When the alarm went off, Wyatt didn't hit snooze. He immediately got up and started getting ready. As the person in charge of the company's big event, he didn't want to leave a bad impression on his team. He wanted to lead by example. Cece soon got up from the bed, too. She shuffled sleepily to the bathroom mirror and popped the already pasted toothbrush in her mouth. Wyatt looked down at her and gently ruffled her hair. "If you're not fully awake, you don't have to come to the office with me this morning. I can come back and get you at lunch." "No." "Then you get ready. I'm going to change." "Okay," Cece reminded him. "Remember to put your pajamas in the washing machine. You've been wearing them for days." "I know." Wyatt went into the bedroom and changed into the clothes they had picked up from the dry cleaners the night before. After being washed and pressed, the suit looked even better. When Cece came out, she saw him dressed all in black, so she changed into an elegant, pure white dress. They left the house at 8:20, grabbed breakfast on the way, and arrived at the office at 8:55. By this time, nearly everyone was there. The moment Wyatt and Cece walked through the door, Hannah, standing at the front desk, was stunned. She stared at Wyatt, her mind reeling. "This guy, how is he so handsome?" "Morning." "Morning." As they walked toward the office, countless pairs of eyes turned to Wyatt. If he had always worn suits, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But Wyatt had never paid much attention to his clothes. In the winter, Cece bought most of his outfits. In the summer, he could wear 2 $15 white t-shirts for the entire break. So when he walked in wearing a tailored suit, it was a revelation for everyone. The office was already mostly female, an environment where a handsome man naturally stood out. Cece keenly picked up on these details and suddenly regretted making him wear the suit to the office. "I should have just had him wear it for me at home," she thought. She linked her arm through Wyatt's, their proximity as intimate as a newlywed couple stepping onto a stage. Monday mornings were for regular meetings, where each department reported on their progress. If Wyatt wasn't there, Viven would have been in early. But with him around, she had gone straight to the factory that morning. She only rushed back after the meeting had ended. Seeing Wyatt in the office, she pulled him up from his chair and circled him, clicking her tongue. Well, Wyatt. Looking sharp today. It's all right. Who bought you this suit? It really suits you." Cece quickly took the credit. "I did. I knew it," Viven smiled. "It's about time you started caring about your image. You look more mature and stable like this." Wyatt was about to reply when his phone rang. He picked it up and saw it was a call from his mother-in-law. "Hello, Miranda." "Wyatt, my train gets in at 11:30. Do you have time to pick me up?" "Of course. I'll head over in a bit." Cece frowned. "Is that my mom?" "Yeah. Her train gets in at noon. She asked me to pick her up." "What? Why is she back so soon?" "Probably a short vacation. With her seniority at a multinational corporation, she should get a lot of vacation time every year." Cece just said, "Oh," her lips forming a small pout. She didn't seem happy. Viven glanced at Cece, thinking about how they always came and went together, and how Cece's parents weren't home. A bold thought entered her mind. Could they be living together? Kids these days are so daring. Huh, weird. Why am I so envious? Just as Wyatt had said, Miranda got a generous amount of vacation time each year, provided the company wasn't too busy. In previous years, she would stagger her time off so she could come home every few months. She worried about Cece if she was away for too long. But ever since Cece had started college, Miranda saved her vacation time for summer and winter breaks, since those were the only times Cece was home. The sun beat down relentlessly. Stepping off the air-conditioned high-speed train was like walking into an oven, the 100-degree heat searing. Miranda pulled her small rolling suitcase and followed the crowd out of the station. Once outside, she dialed Wyatt's number. "Hello, Miranda. I see you. Just stay where you are." Beep, beep, beep. Before she could say a word, the call ended. She was wondering where he was when Wyatt, in a crisp white shirt, appeared in front of her. He took the suitcase from her hand, a smile on his face. "It's too hot out here. I had Cece wait in the car." The sunlight reflected off his face, and against the white shirt, he seemed to glow. Miranda was momentarily dazed, then quickly replied, "Let's get to the car." They walked quickly toward the curb. Miranda couldn't help but steal a few more glances at Wyatt. As he loaded the suitcase into the trunk, she pulled open the car door and slid inside. It was already almost noon, too late to go home and cook. The three of them found a restaurant nearby. After they ate, Wyatt drove them back to Maple Creek Estates. He had work to do in the afternoon, so he didn't stay long before driving off alone. After he left, Miranda asked curiously, "Cece, why did Wyatt suddenly start wearing suits?" Cece hemmed and hawed. "Just because of work. He looks quite handsome in a suit." Cece first said, "MHM," then quickly corrected herself. "He looks okay, I guess." Miranda smiled. "It matches your dress today, too." Cece didn't reply, but she was thinking, "Of course it does. I specifically chose this white dress to wear today." The poolside party was scheduled for August 8th, less than a month away. That afternoon, the logistics team finally had news. They found a venue that met all of Wyatt's requirements, but the fee was exorbitant. The pool belonged to a 5-star hotel, and renting the space would mean paying a hefty usage fee. The event itself would only last a few hours, but the setup would take 3 days. Renting it for that long was far over budget. But Riverwood was a second-tier city, and there were very few venues that could meet Wyatt's standards. Wyatt knew this. He told the head of logistics, a woman named Wanda, "Get a business card from the hotel manager. I'll talk to him and see if I can negotiate the price." After that call, Carla Jones, the head of business relations, came into his office. She handed Wyatt her tablet. "Mr. Evans, these are the model casting videos from the agency. There are over 30 in this batch. Do you want to take a look?" "Sure." Carla stood beside Wyatt and started the video. It was filmed in a studio. A girl with a great figure stood in a swimsuit, introducing herself. Each video followed the same format: name, height, weight, and finally, their measurements. Afterward, they would do a slow turn for the camera to show off their physique. "Thank God Cece's at home this afternoon," Wyatt thought. "If she were here, even if she didn't say anything now, she'd definitely give me trouble later. She's getting more and more jealous these days." Carla stood by, her attention focused on Wyatt's expression. She thought that a young man like him would have some kind of reaction to watching these videos, but his composure was disappointing. He was calm from beginning to end, and after each introduction, he would simply jot down the model's number. After the video finished, Wyatt said, "Number 6, 11, 13, 18, 19, 21. Reject these. The rest are fine." Carla frowned. "On what grounds?" "They don't highlight the features of our swimsuits." Huh. Carla needed a reason to give the modeling agency so they could be more targeted with the next batch. "Mr. Evans, could you be more specific?" "They're too small-chested," Wyatt stated bluntly. Carla blinked, then it clicked. She quickly took back the tablet. "Understand," she said, and hurried out of the office. While Wyatt was busy handling various matters, Michael was lounging around in New York. Hearing that Wyatt was taking Cece to work every day, he wanted Isabelle to come with him, too. Naturally, Isabelle wasn't going to agree so easily. She started making trouble, sending him a voice message. "First, you have to tell me why you like me. You have to give me reasons. If they're good, I'll agree. If not, forget it." Michael had no idea how to answer a question like that. He sent several reasons, but Isabelle didn't reply, clearly unimpressed. Defeated, Michael messaged Wyatt. "Bro, save me." Wyatt, finding a spare moment, replied, "What's up?" Michael, chat screenshot. JPG Michael, look at the screenshot. Wyatt, "Dude, she's always messing with you. Can't you just ignore her?" Michael, "No. Right? Hopeless romantic. Wyatt rolled his eyes and typed back. If my girlfriend asked me why I liked her, I would say, some things are decided by the heart, and words can't do them justice. Michael stared at the message, completely floored. Damn, the man's a genius. He quickly deleted all the reasons he'd sent and forwarded Wyatt's exact words to Isabelle. When Isabelle saw the message, her first reaction was, wow, that's actually pretty good. But then she thought about it. It didn't feel right. That idiot Michael didn't have that kind of emotional intelligence. Isabelle quickly asked, did you copy that from the internet? Michael replied righteously, no. Isabelle, then Wyatt told you to say it. Michael didn't answer directly. He sidestepped. That's what I wanted to say. So are you coming to the office with me tomorrow or not? Isabelle, pick me up at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Michael, deal. Having happily resolved that issue, Michael got back to work. Just before quitting time, he sent Wyatt another message. Wyatt, what's Isabelle's deal? Every time I think we're about to take the next step, she starts a fight. But after every fight, I manage to win her back. How am I supposed to know if she actually likes me? Wyatt's reply was concise. Use your sixth sense. Wyatt spent the evening at Maple Creek Estates, but with Miranda home, there was no way he and Cece could share a bed. Cece had already discreetly packed away all of Wyatt's things that afternoon. Mandy and Riley quickly found out about this. The next morning, before Wyatt was even out of bed, the two of them showed up at his house. Wyatt had no choice but to bring his two shadows to the office with him. He had just sat down when Wanda, the head of logistics, came in. She handed him a business card. Mr. Evans, this is the card for the manager at the hotel. Thanks. Wyatt took it. The most prominent thing on the white card was the title, General Manager, Gold River Hotel, Riverwood, followed by the manager's name, Chun Shung. But Wyatt's attention was fixed on the words Gold River Hotel. What a coincidence. Isn't this the perfect opportunity to use my connections? A smile spread across Wyatt's face. He looked up at Wanda. The venue is set. Gold River Hotel. No need to look for other places. Huh. Wanda was confused. Mr. Evans, didn't you say the budget was way too high? I'll talk to them. After she left, Wyatt took a picture of the business card and sent it to Victor Yu, followed by a voice message. Victor, could you do me a favor? He just put his phone down when Victor called him directly. Wyatt quickly answered. What do you need? Victor's voice came through the line. A clothing brand I invested in is holding a fashion show in Riverwood on August 8th. I want to rent the hotel's event space for a few days. There was a 2-second pause. I'll contact them, Victor said. I'll call you back. Wyatt quickly added, our budget is limited, so on the price? You came to me for this. You think I'm going to rip you off? It'll just be a token fee. Great. Thanks, Victor. After hanging up, Victor called the manager of the Gold River Hotel in Riverwood. When a manager heard the name Victor Yu, his legs started to tremble. Since becoming a vice president, Victor had been responsible for the dismissal of at least 15, if not 20, hotel managers. It was a tactic that had quickly earned him a formidable reputation within the group. The manager listened nervously to Victor's instructions and breathed a huge sigh of relief. Yes, of course. I'll take care of it, he stammered. What would have been a difficult task for anyone else was, for Victor, a matter of a single phone call. He sent Wyatt a quick message confirming it was done, then found himself wondering what kind of clothing company Wyatt had invested in. Curious, he opened his laptop, went to the Investments website, and quickly found the company's name among the portfolio list, Vivien's Secret. Following the digital breadcrumbs, Victor searched for the brand's webpage. The first few results were all links to buy its products on various platforms. The images were all of risque lingerie and swimsuits. This guy, Victor muttered with a chuckle. He was about to close the page when a thumbnail in the Related People section caught his eye. Wanda, how's the venue situation? Vivian asked, running into her in the break room. It's all set at the Gold River Hotel, Wanda replied. Mr. Evans already took care of it. What? Vivian frowned. Last night you said the budget was too high. It was. But apparently, Mr. Evans knows someone at the Gold River Group. He made 2 calls this morning, and it was all confirmed. We're renting it for 5 days, and the cost is less than a third of what they originally quoted. Vivian strode straight toward Wyatt's office. Wyatt, what's going on? What's going on? Wanda told me the venue is confirmed. It is. How did you manage that? I know a friend, Wyatt explained. Her dad is the chairman of the Gold River Group, and her brother is the vice president. I just called her brother, and it was settled. Vivian's eyes widened in disbelief. Wyatt, how many other things are you hiding from me? How do you even know people like that? It's a long story. It was all a series of coincidences, too complicated for Wyatt to explain. But he had been wondering how to repay the favor. The moment Vivian walked in, he remembered what Michael had said. A sly, calculating look appeared in his eyes as he sized up Viven. What's with that look? Lady boss, can we discuss something? What is it? Let me set you up with a boyfriend. What do you say? Wyatt asked with a grin. Get lost, Viven said, rolling her eyes. Don't joke about that. I'm 37. Wyatt slapped his hand on the table. Damn, that's perfect. He's only 3 years younger. Lady boss, seriously, you don't look a day over 27. And you know what they say, an older woman is a treasure. He just turned 34. Treasure your ass, Viven snapped, not bothering to listen further as she turned and walked away. Hey, don't go, Wyatt called after her. I'm serious. This guy's a top-tier catch. Rich, handsome, the whole package. I'll send you his contact info. If he adds you, you have to accept. From down the hall, Viven raised her hand and gave him the middle finger. Wyatt genuinely thought Victor and Viven would be a good match. They were both career-driven, and their ages were close. Even though Viven was a few years older, she had never been married and, in many ways, had the personality of a woman in her 20s. Besides, both of their families were surely pressuring them to get married. If he could bring them together, he'd be a hero. Even if it didn't work out, there was no harm in them meeting. So, Wyatt secretly forwarded Vivian's contact card to Victor. Victor replied with a single question mark. She's the owner of Vivian's Secret, Wyatt explained. She's very grateful about the hotel and said if you ever have time to come to Riverwood, she'd like to treat you to dinner. This time, Victor sent back 2 question marks. Wyatt quickly changed his story. Okay, I made that up. I just think you two are around the same age and would be a good match, so I thought I'd introduce you. Victor replied with 3 question marks. Wyatt didn't explain further. He just left it at that. That night, around 10 o'clock, a new friend request popped up on Vivian's phone. The message attached was simple, just 5 words. Hello, this is Victor you. At the office, preparations were proceeding in an orderly fashion. Wyatt had settled into a routine, working 9 to 5. In a blink, the weekend arrived again. He slept in on Saturday morning, and after lunch, he headed over to Maple Creek Estates. As he walked in the yard, he saw Miranda hanging duvet covers out to dry. She was only home for short periods, and without a housekeeper, all the cleaning and laundry fell to her. Wyatt immediately went over to help. Wyatt, I'm heading back to Philadelphia on Monday. I probably won't be back until the end of August. I could drive you to the station then, Wyatt offered. Miranda smiled and shook her head. No need. Your uncle has time. Oh, even better. Miranda continued. Cece's appetite hasn't been great lately. She might be trying to lose weight. I tell her not to, but she doesn't listen. You need to find a way to make her eat more. Wyatt smiled. I will. As they were talking, Charles emerged from the house. He'd arrived much earlier than Wyatt. Seeing him, Wyatt headed into the living room, and Charles took his place, helping Miranda hang the laundry. Miranda, has our daughter lost more weight? Yes. Is she not eating properly? No. Well, aren't you going to do something about it? Me? What am I supposed to do? You're all talk. Why don't you tell your daughter? Charles gave an awkward laugh. You know she doesn't listen to me. She doesn't listen to me either. I already told Wyatt about it. What good will that do? Charles said resentfully. For all we know, she's not eating because of him. Miranda shot him a look and didn't bother to reply. With Miranda back, Cece had been staying home, no longer following Wyatt to work from sunrise to sunset. At first, she thought it was fine, but after a few days, she realized that being home alone without Wyatt was incredibly boring. Time itself seemed to slow down. Her mind would inevitably drift to him. She'd wonder what he was doing and want to text him, but she was afraid of disturbing him. So, the moment she saw Wyatt today, she whispered in his ear, I'll let you in on a secret. My mom is going back to Philadelphia on Monday. I know. She just told me. Cece pouted. Why don't you seem happy? Wyatt suppressed a laugh, teasing her. Happy about what? Your dad was just telling your mom that after she leaves, he's going to move in here. What? Cece's mood instantly soured. He can't do that. She thought for a moment, then shot up from the sofa, ready to march outside. I'm going to tell my dad I want to be home alone. Wyatt quickly grabbed her arm. I was kidding. Your dad never said that. Cece turned around and unleashed a flurry of playful punches, fuming. You jerk, you tricked me again. Charles and Miranda, carrying laundry baskets, walked back into the living room just in time to witness this scene. Miranda smiled, ready to take the baskets to the laundry room. Seeing Charles frozen at the doorway, she stepped back and physically dragged him away. By then, Cece had heard their footsteps. She looked back, quickly stopped hitting Wyatt, her face turning crimson. After Miranda and Charles disappeared into the laundry room, Cece saw Wyatt still laughing and pinched him hard. Then, just as her mother had done to her father, she grabbed his wrist and pulled him upstairs. Where did they go? Charles asked, emerging to find the living room empty. Miranda pointed upstairs, unfazed. Probably upstairs. Charles sank gloomily onto the spot Wyatt had just vacated. He thought about sneaking upstairs to see what they were doing, but was promptly stopped by Miranda's watchful eye. Time always flies when you're with someone you love. Cece watched the sun travel from its peak to slowly sink behind the western hills. Wyatt, lying on a soft bed, saw the light outside, turn golden, and sat up. We should go down for dinner. Can you come over in the morning tomorrow? But I have something to do tomorrow. Hearing this, Cece shot him an annoyed glare. Wyatt smiled. I have to go to the Gold River Hotel to check on the venue. Want to come with me? Yes. Okay. I'll pick you up in the morning then. MHM. Cece's face lit up like a little girl who had just been given candy. That evening, Miranda naturally had Wyatt stay for dinner. When serving the rice, she gave Wyatt a subtle look. He nodded, then dished out 2 bowls, giving one to Cece and keeping one for himself. Cece looked at the heaping bowl. I can't eat this much. It's okay, Wyatt said with a smile. Just eat what you can. You can give me the rest. Cece reluctantly agreed. At the dinner table, Miranda asked Wyatt about his company and what he was busy with during the summer. Wyatt answered her questions one by one. The scene felt incredibly harmonious to Cece. Before she knew Wyatt, she used to imagine scenes like this, but back then, she never imagined there would be an extra person at the table. Charles finished eating first and left the table. Miranda followed soon after. Wyatt was almost done too. Seeing that Cece still had a small half bowl of rice left, he pretended to be surprised. Wow, you're on fire today. You ate so much. The sudden praise made Cece happy, but she didn't want to show it too obviously. She started eating faster. Wyatt, seeing this, reached out and ruffled her hair, whispering affectionately in her ear, You almost finished this whole big bowl. If your parents weren't here, I'd definitely reward you with a kiss. Cece's dimples became clearly visible. After she finished, she even held up her bowl proudly. I want some soup, too. Wyatt quickly got up to get it for her. In the kitchen, Miranda, pretending to be busy, secretly watched the scene unfold. She leaned over to the jealous Charles and whispered, See, it works, doesn't it? New York City. In a villa near Shishan, the Yu family was having dinner. Richard Yu began, have the RevPAR numbers for the first half of the year come out for our group? Victor placed a piece of meat on his sister Judy's plate before answering calmly. They have. It's a 5% increase year over year. Compared to Marriott, Intercontinental, and Shangri-La, our RevPAR is looking pretty good, but that's mainly driven by our economy hotels. The mid to high-end hotels are basically flat. The Orange Apartments acquisition is complete. What are your plans next? Victor adjusted his glasses. Every July, the group conducts random inspections of the hotels. Usually, the management committee forms a team by pulling people from different departments. Since I don't have much on my plate right now, I was thinking of personally taking charge this year. Richard, you asked with interest. And were you thinking of inspecting? Riverwood. Victor nodded. It's a third-tier city in Pennsylvania. Valley Forge is nearby. I know the place, his father said. Your mother and I went there on vacation when we were young. Julia Zheng, who had been quiet until now, smiled. Judy, would you like to go on a trip with your brother? Judy wanted to say she was busy, but was afraid her parents would press for details. I'll see, she said evasively. After that, silence fell over the dinner table. It was only after dinner that Judy remembered Michael mentioning that Wyatt was from Riverwood. Could my brother's trip to Riverwood have something to do with Wyatt? She wondered. She quickly dismissed the thought. Her brother had only met Wyatt once, and he was always so busy. It was impossible. Miranda left on Monday morning. That same evening, Wyatt moved back in. The days that followed flew by. All the preparations for the poolside party were in place, with only minor details left to be adjusted. On the night of the 30th, Wyatt got a video call from Leo. After a month, Leo looked much better, and it seemed he'd even lost some weight. Wyatt, I'm heading to Philadelphia tomorrow. Does Sophie know? I've already told her. Why are you so nervous? Just cross that bridge when you come to it. Her parents are people, not lions or tigers. You're not afraid they're going to eat you, are you? I know, Leo said, his voice laced with worry. But whenever I picture the scene, my stomach just drops. Wyatt laughed. How are your preparations going? I was just about to ask you about that. What should I buy to bring to her house? The usual stuff. A nice bottle of wine, some good coffee, maybe a gift basket. Does Sophie have any siblings? Yes, Cece, who was sitting next to Wyatt, answered before Leo could. She has a younger brother who's in middle school. Leo asked quickly, Do I need to get her brother a gift too? He's in middle school? That's easy. When you get there, find a chance to secretly gift him a couple of expensive League of Legends skins. That should take care of him. Got it. Leo continued. Also, is this shirt okay to wear tomorrow? No, switch to a polo shirt. It'll make you look more mature. Okay, what kind of questions will her parents ask me? You have experience. Can you run through a rehearsal with me? Wyatt's voice turned playful. First, call me uncle. What? Cece nudged Wyatt. Be serious. Don't mess around. Wyatt cleared his throat, adopted a parental tone, and asked in a deep voice, how long have you two been dating? 1.5 years. What school do you go to? They actually rehearsed. Wyatt asked every question he could think of, and if Leo's answer wasn't good, he'd help him correct it. They went back and forth for over an hour. Worried that Leo was still anxious, Wyatt added one last piece of advice. Honestly, you just need to be yourself and be good to Sophie. Leo took the words to heart. After hanging up, knowing he had to drive to Philadelphia early the next morning, he went to bed. The next morning, Leo packed his things and followed the GPS toward Philadelphia. He had already prepared everything he needed. Last night's long call with Wyatt was more for peace of mind than anything else. He knew he couldn't necessarily pull off what Wyatt could, so he'd have to play it by ear. He was nervous, but Sophie was even more so. She woke up with her heart pounding like a drum. She desperately wanted to text Leo and ask where he was, but knowing he was driving, she forced herself not to. She couldn't sit still, pacing around the house. Sophie's mother, Teresa, saw it all. She nudged her husband, Stephen, and gave him a look. Stephen's expression was a carbon copy of Charles's when he was feeling jealous. The more anxious Sophie acted, the unhappier Stephen became. He knew his daughter's behavior was a direct reflection of how much she liked the boy who was about to arrive. There wasn't a father in the world who was happy to hand his 20-year-old daughter over to another man. It was only natural. Around 11, Sophie's phone finally rang. The sound was like an alarm, making both Stephen and Teresa jump. It was Leo's first time meeting the parents, but it was their first time meeting their daughter's boyfriend, too. Despite having the upper hand, it was impossible not to feel a little nervous. Okay, you're here? I'll be right down. Sophie hung up and ran downstairs. Leo had parked at the bottom of the building. When he saw Sophie coming down, his forehead was beaded with sweat. What do I do? My palms are sweating. Sophie stood on her toes, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and straightened his bangs. She feigned a calm she didn't feel. It's okay. Just stick to the plan. Leo nodded, opened the trunk, and took out all the gifts he'd prepared. Sophie frowned. Why did you buy so much? I thought it would show I'm sincere. Come on up. Okay. When they reached the apartment door, Teresa was already there, pulling Stephen along with her to wait. They had seen the scene of Sophie wiping Leo's forehead from the balcony. Stephen's feelings were complicated, but Teresa had a smile on her face. These are my parents. Leo stepped forward and said nervously, Hello, Uncle. Hello, Annie. Come in, come in. Why did you buy so many things? And then the questioning began. After Leo sat down and answered the first question, his nerves started to settle. Sometimes, the anticipation of an event is far scarier than the event itself. Sophie sat by his side the entire time, which gave him a huge boost of courage. Teresa listened for a while, then went to the kitchen to cook. She was quite satisfied with Leo. He seemed like an honest kid, well-mannered, and though not strikingly handsome, he was pleasant enough. Wyatt had guessed as much, which was why he'd added that last piece of advice the night before. A quiet, well-raised girl like Sophie was bound to have parents with good values. For them, honesty and respect were the most important qualities in a future son-in-law, and Leo happened to embody both. But Stephen was still a bit wary. He decided he would get Leo drunk at lunch and see what truths might spill out. Dinner's ready, Teresa announced, placing the last dish on the table. Leo was seated next to Stephen. Seeing this, Sophie shot a look at her younger brother, Ben, and discreetly passed him her phone under the table. Ben quickly got up and switched seats, allowing Sophie to sit next to Leo. As soon as Stephen sat down, he turned to Leo. Do you drink? Leo hesitated. He figured since his potential father-in-law was asking, he must be a drinker himself. He nodded. A little, but I'm a lightweight. That was exactly what Stephen wanted to hear. He got up, retrieved a bottle of whiskey from the sideboard, poured himself a glass, and then poured one for Leo. Leo, flattered, held his glass with both hands as it was filled. Teresa seemed to guess Stephen's intentions, but didn't intervene. You can know a person's face, but not their heart. Using alcohol to test someone's true character wasn't a bad idea. Leo, however, was oblivious. He thought Sophie's parents had already accepted him. Under Stephen's encouragement, he took sip after sip. Even though they were small, this was strong whiskey, and Leo's tolerance was low. Within 15 minutes, his face was flushed. By now, Sophie had figured out her dad's scheme. She leaned close to Leo and whispered, Stop drinking. Leo, already feeling a bit floaty, just shook his head proudly. It's fine, I'm not drunk. Sophie was exasperated, but couldn't say anything more. Another 15 minutes passed. Leo was clearly intoxicated, his voice much louder, his gestures more expansive. But what surprised Teresa was that even in this state, he was still putting food on Sophie's plate. It was clearly a habit. Stephen, seeing that the time was right, finally steered the conversation to the main topic. Leo, Riverwood is a bit far from Philadelphia. Have you thought about your plans after graduation? Wyatt had rehearsed this question with Leo last night. He replied quickly, I'll probably stay and work in New York. Will it be easy to find a job with your major? I probably won't have to look for a job. You won't. My best friend started an investment firm in New York, Leo said proudly. After I graduate, I can go work for him directly. I already interned there for a month. Your best friend? He started his own investment firm. Stephen and Teresa exchanged a look. They were both puzzled. Aren't you boys just finishing your sophomore year? Sophie helped explain. His name is Wyatt. I've told you about him before. Is he the one you said was really shameless? Sophie nodded awkwardly. Stephen frowned. Starting his own company so young, an investment firm no less. Is his family very wealthy? No, Leo said. When talking about Wyatt, he felt a strange sense of pride. He's from a normal family, but he's brilliant at making money, a real business genius. When we first started college. By now, Leo was slurring his words, but when it came to Wyatt's story, he spoke with surprising clarity. After all, he had witnessed Wyatt's rise step by step. The summer job after his SATs, the fruit delivery business at college, the trading company, the investment firm. After listening, Stephen hesitated, but he asked anyway. He's so successful. As his friend, don't you ever feel? Leo knew what he meant. He smiled, his face red. I know what you mean. In the beginning, I definitely felt a little insecure, I guess. But we've known each other for a long, long time, since we were kids. Even though he's changed a lot since college, his heart hasn't. I mean, he's just progressed a bit faster, but he's still the same person. And after he got successful, he still treated me the same. It's not like he looked down on me because he had money. Although, at first, he always paid whenever we went out to eat or have fun. That made me feel pretty bad. Compared to him, I felt like a total failure. But I think he must have figured out how I was feeling because he stopped doing that. As for me, I accepted it a long time ago. Everyone has their own path. Not everyone can be a big boss. Besides, he never looks down on me. So what right do I have to be resentful? We just video chatted last night, huh? I was scared to death about coming here. And he spent all night coaching me, even rehearsing the whole meeting the parents thing with me. The card downstairs, he lent it to me, just so I could make a good impression. He also lent me $2,000, said he'd deduct it from my future salary, but I know he has no intention of making me pay it back. Uncle, Annie, I'm not as brilliant as he is. I never will be. But my feelings for Sophie are real. I can't say all the sweet things he can, and I can't promise what the future will hold. The only thing I can guarantee is that I will always be good to her. If I make $100 a month, I'll spend $100 on her. If I make $1,000, I'll spend $1,000 on her. If I make $10,000. Leo was completely drunk now, his words jumbled and unfiltered. He paused, then turned his head to look at Sophie, his voice like a child's. Stop pinching me. My leg went numb a while ago. I can't even feel it. So sleepy. Leo's eyelids fluttered twice, then closed completely. With a thud, his head hit the table. He didn't move again, the only sound the even, heavy rhythm of his breathing. The table fell silent. Everyone stared at each other, completely blindsided by this ending. This is your fault, Teresa said, giving Stephen a look. She quickly stood up. Sophie, help me get him to your brother's room, so he can lie down. Sophie wanted to help, but she didn't have the strength. Stephen got up to assist. At that moment, Wyatt sent Leo a text, asking how things were going. Stephen glanced at the phone's lock screen and saw that the wallpaper was a picture of his daughter. He froze for a second before finally helping Leo up and carrying him to Ben's bed. See what you did? You kept pouring him drinks, and now he hasn't even had a bite to eat. He can eat when he wakes up. Leo slept for the entire afternoon. Aside from mumbling in his sleep a few times, he didn't move. It wasn't until sunset, as the sky began to darken, that he groggily opened his eyes. His whole body felt like it was filled with lead. His head was spinning, and his mouth was bone dry. He desperately needed water. Ben, who had been hiding in the room playing games, saw Leo wake up and ran to tell Sophie. She came in quickly and stood by the bed, her lips pushed out in an annoyed pout. Are you an idiot? I warned you so many times not to drink, but you just had to. Leo didn't say a word. He couldn't even remember what had happened at lunch. He just looked at Sophie and grinned like a fool. Sophie was speechless. Are you hungry? I want water. Wait here. Sophie went to get him a glass of water. By the time she returned, Leo had managed to sit up. He held his heavy head in his hands, took the water from her, and drank it all in one go. Feeling slightly more human, he asked anxiously, "I didn't say anything stupid at lunch, did I?" Sophie's eyes went wide. Seeing her expression, Leo's heart sank. He swallowed hard and asked guiltily, Did I mess it up?" Sophie saw the look of devastation on his face. She gently shook her head and smiled. "No, you didn't." Leo had no idea that when he woke up, Sophie's parents would suddenly be so much warmer to him. They kept calling him Leo, dear, making him feel a little embarrassed. After a dazed but pleasant dinner, Sophie led him out of the house and toward a nearby hotel. On the way, Leo kept pestering her, trying to find out what exactly he'd said after getting drunk at lunch. But Sophie just smiled mysteriously, refusing to say a word, which only made him more curious. Still, judging by the results, the visit had been a resounding success. The next day, Sophie's family insisted on taking him on a drive to Valley Forge National Historical Park. Leo noticed that his future brother-in-law, Ben, had zero interest in the scenery and kept bugging his mom, Teresa, for her phone to play games. If it weren't for his parents dragging him along, the kid would have gladly stayed home. Seizing an opportunity when they went to the restroom, Leo made his move. "What's your rank in League of Legends?" he asked casually. "Platinum," Ben mumbled. Leo grinned. "I'm almost diamond, and I barely even played this season." "You got that new God King Garen skin." Ben shook his head. "Want me to gift it to you?" Ben's eyes lit up. "For real?" "Yeah, just add me on Discord. I'll send it to you tonight." "Thanks, man." "Nope, you can't call me man." Leo corrected him smoothly. "You have to call me bro-in-law." "Thanks, bro-in-law." Just as Wyatt had predicted, for the low price of $25, Leo had successfully won over his middle school-aged brother-in-law. When they came out of the restroom, Ben's mood had improved dramatically. Having been to the park many times, he was familiar with the layout and, eager to please the guy who was buying him a new skin, he became an enthusiastic tour guide, pointing things out to Leo. The constant bro-in-law this and bro-in-law that was so over the top, it gave Sophie goosebumps. Stephen and Teresa were baffled. When on earth had Leo managed to win over their son? They'd barely exchanged more than a few words. As the date of the event drew closer, the real work began. On August 5th, the setup crew started transforming the venue. Wyatt was on-site personally, directing his team. Looking at the shimmering blue water of the pool, Khloe remembered that she and Wyatt hadn't been to their own community pool all summer. She knew it wasn't his fault. Ever since he got back from New York, he'd been completely absorbed in work. Even on weekends, he was fielding at least 5 calls a day and constantly replying to group chats. There was simply no free time. "Listen up, everyone." Wyatt's voice boomed. "We need this entire setup finished by 7 p.m. tonight. Tomorrow is for testing the lights and sound equipment. And in the evening, all the models and influencers are coming for the first rehearsal. There will be problems, so we need to leave a full day for adjustments. Let's push it, people. Once this event is over, I'm giving you all a 3-day weekend to relax and have fun." "Thanks, Wyatt," a chorus of voices replied. The site was a hive of activity. Wyatt did a lap to check on progress, then returned to Khloe, who handed him a bottle of water. He chugged half of it in one go. "It's too hot out here. Why don't you head home this afternoon? Take these 2 rascals with you," he said, gesturing to Mandy and Riley. "No way." Seeing the sweat beaded on his forehead, Khloe pulled a wet wipe from her purse and gently dabbed his brow. He'd barely sat down for 5 minutes before a member of the stage crew called him away again. After a full day of frantic work, just as dusk was settling, a sweat-drenched Wyatt finally drove the 3 of them home. He dropped Mandy and Riley off first, then stopped at a supermarket for some fruit. Back at Maple Creek Estates, he tossed the keys on the counter and headed straight for the shower. "Wyatt, your mom just called. She asked if we're coming over for dinner tonight." "What did you say?" he yelled from the bathroom. "I told her we were eating out." "Good. I'm beat. Too tired to go anywhere. Just order some takeout." Khloe picked up her phone and opened DoorDash. "What do you want to eat?" "Whatever. I'll have what you're having." "Okay." When Wyatt emerged from the bathroom, a towel wrapped around his waist, he saw Khloe wasn't in the living room. While rubbing his hair dry with another towel, he called out, "Khloe, where are you?" "In the kitchen." He followed her voice and found her at the counter, slicing the fruit they just bought. He draped the towel over his head and came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and resting his chin on her delicate shoulder. "You know," he murmured with a smile, "I'm noticing you're getting more and more capable lately." "Oh, stop it." Khloe picked up a slice of watermelon and held it to his lips. "Here, see if it's sweet." Wyatt took a bite and chewed thoughtfully. "It's sweet, but what?" "But not as sweet as you." Before she could react, He leaned in and planted a kiss on her cheek. Just then, his phone rang from the other room, and he dashed off to answer it. Hey, lady boss. Yeah, we're almost done. I'll be there tomorrow to supervise. Make sure you're at the rehearsal tonight. After the models do their walk, I need you to lead them out for the final group pose. This isn't up for discussion. You handed this whole thing over to me, so you're going to do it my way. Viven hadn't expected to be part of Wyatt's plan. She had never intended to make an onstage appearance, so her first reaction was to refuse. But after Wyatt's detailed explanation, she finally relented. As he'd said, she couldn't hide behind the scenes forever. The company needed a public face, someone with authority, to represent it to the media. The only two people with that kind of authority were her and Wyatt. And since Wyatt was technically just an investor, she was the most logical choice. Still, the thought of getting on stage made her stomach flutter with a nervousness she hadn't felt in years. Shortly after they hung up, Vivian's phone buzzed again. Assuming it was Wyatt, she quickly opened her messages. It wasn't him. It was Victor Yu. After they had added each other on Messenger, they had only exchanged a few pleasantries. Vivian knew who he was from Wyatt, but she hadn't imagined any kind of follow-up. For one, their family backgrounds were worlds apart. For another, she was long past the age of getting flustered over a man. Victor Yu, I'll be passing through Riverwood on a business trip. Wyatt mentioned you'd treat me to dinner. Is that true? Vivian froze, thinking, when did I ever say I'd treat you to dinner? That damn Wyatt, always making trouble for me. But she also knew that Victor had been a huge help in securing the venue so smoothly. After a moment, she typed back, Vivian, I'm only free after the 8th. Victor Yu, I'm not leaving until the 10th. I should be at the hotel on the 8th. Vivian, we can set a time then. Victor Yu, sounds good. Come on, have one more. I can't, you eat it. No, there's so much left, and you can't leave cut fruit overnight. Open up, Khloe commanded playfully. Wyatt obediently opened his mouth. After popping a strawberry into his mouth, Khloe asked with a grin, Is it good? Wyatt shook his head. A little sour. No way. The two I had weren't sour at all. Khloe quickly tasted another one herself, and found it was, in fact, a bit tart. Next time, we're not buying fruit from that store. I have a way to make it not sour, Wyatt said with a mischievous smile. What way? Turn it into an imported fruit. Imported fruit? Wyatt popped the last 2 strawberries on the plate into his mouth, then slowly leaned toward Khloe, mumbling, Here, you tell me if it's sweet. Khloe's eyes widened. Realizing what he was doing, she covered her mouth and tried to lean back, but Wyatt's hand shot out and gripped her ankle. Get away from me. But Wyatt was relentless, closing the distance. Khloe tumbled back onto the sofa, and, a moment later, the imported fruit truly became imported. Lighting check, cameras check, props check. The next evening, around 6, Wyatt stood in front of the monitors, glanced at the time, and spoke into his walkie-talkie. Are the models ready backstage? Almost. Pick up the pace. We're running through the whole show. The influencers open with a performance of Lean On, and the models hit the runway at the same time. You'll walk to the main display area. You each get about 5 seconds to pose, then you walk back. Got it. As the event's lead planner, Wyatt was now also acting as its director. The show would be live-streamed on both YouTube and Instagram Live, and a full video of the runway show would be posted to Vivian's company's official accounts. As the sky grew darker, a voice crackled over the walkie-talkie. 5-minute warning. 3 minutes. 1 minute. Wyatt raised a megaphone. All departments, stand by. The second the countdown hit 0, he shouted, Action! Upbeat music blasted through the venue. To a roar of applause, 3 popular YouTubers walked onto the stage. As the unmistakable beat of Lean On filled the air, the 3 women, all dressed in Vivian's branded swimwear, launched into an energetic dance. Simultaneously, the models began to file onto the runway one by one. The set was elegantly simple. The runway ran between 2 long, rectangular pools, leading to a main display platform at the end. On the 8th, the actual event day, the audience and media would fill the seats, and a crowd of fans would undoubtedly show up, making it far livelier than the rehearsal. 8 cameras were strategically placed, 1 for close-ups at the front, 4 on jibs flanking the runway, 2 covering the audience, and a drone on standby. Because Wyatt had handpicked every model and rejected the traditional, severe high-fashion makeup in favor of a look he called classic American beauty. The moment the models appeared, a buzz of excitement went through the male crew members and the hotel guests who had gathered to watch. Not enough dry ice. Add more dry ice. There's no smoke on the runway. Lights, stay on the models as they walk. Camera 3, what's going on? I can only see your top half, not the whole look. Wyatt sat at the monitors, constantly fine-tuning details. Watching the confident, beautiful models on the runway. Even Mandy, who had always been sure of her looks, felt a pang of insecurity. Beside her, Khloe felt a small twinge of jealousy as she watched Wyatt stare intently at the models on the screens. It was an unfair feeling, she knew, because he was just doing his job, so she couldn't show it. The runway portion lasted about 15 minutes. After all the models and influencers had their turn, they came out for a group finale. 50 or 60 women with stunning figures, all in swimsuits, stood in the center of the pools, striking various poses. The visual impact was immense. Viven appeared last, standing before the group of models, and delivered the concluding remarks Wyatt had prepared for her. The entire show clocked in at around 30 minutes. Afterward, Wyatt gathered the department heads for an on-the-spot meeting to make final adjustments. While the rehearsal was underway, in a top-floor suite of the Gold River Hotel, Victor Yu sat on a sofa, reviewing a stack of documents. On top was the hotel's monthly revenue report. The hotel manager stood before him, trembling, not daring to breathe, as Victor read. "Give me an explanation. Why don't the monthly revenue numbers match the daily reports?" "Well," the manager stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. Just as he was steeling himself to speak, Victor cut him off. "You'd better come up with a decent excuse. I started as a hotel manager, too. I know every trick in the book." "Mr. Yu, Fine, we'll put that aside for now. The difference isn't that large, after all." Victor's eyes narrowed, his expression unreadable. "But the room rates for all Gold River hotels are set by corporate. If I recall correctly, the standard rate for a 3-star hotel in a tourist city in August should be $158. So why was I quoted $228 when I checked in last night?" Though the air conditioning was on, sweat beaded on the manager's forehead. He stared at the floor, unable to meet Victor's gaze, his legs starting to shake. He couldn't believe Victor had arrived yesterday, but had waited until tonight to confront him. Victor stood and picked up a glass of lemonade from the coffee table. He walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the scene by the pool below. "I've met a lot of greedy people," he said calmly, "but few have taken it to your level. Did you think that with thousands of hotels in the Gold River Group, no one would ever audit you? Or did you think that with the boss so far away, no one could touch you?" He took a sip of lemonade. "Mr. Chun, at your age, you should have been able to retire comfortably in a few years, shouldn't you?" The words had barely left his mouth when there was a loud thud from behind him. The hotel manager, a man more than a decade older than Victor, had dropped to his knees. "Mr. You please give me one more chance." "What are you doing?" Victor still didn't turn around. He continued to gaze out the window, his face impassive. "I assume you've heard about the group's acquisition of the Orange Grove motels. Next month, I'm arranging for you to take over 2 of them in Cleveland. Your pay grade will be dropped by 2 levels. If you can make both of them profitable within a year, I'll let you come back as a hotel manager. Does that sound fair to you?" "It does," the manager exclaimed, his voice filled with relief. "And at this time next year, don't even think about trying to fool me with fake numbers again." Understood. "Close the door on your way out, and have a car ready for me. I'll need one for the next few days." "Yes, sir." The manager scrambled out of the room as if granted a pardon. Victor watched as the rehearsal by the pool wrapped up. He was just about to call Wyatt when his phone rang. Seeing it was his sister, Judy, he answered, his expression softening considerably. "Hey, what are you up to?" "At the hotel." "What's up?" "I saw that Wyatt kid posted something on his story this afternoon. It looks like he's putting on some kind of event. The pictures he took look like they're from our hotel. Michael mentioned Wyatt was from Riverwood, so I thought I'd call you to check." Victor smiled. "He's downstairs right now." What's wrong with you?" Wyatt asked as soon as they were in the car. "You've been pouting ever since we left." I didn't want to say anything in front of the girls. Khloe stared out the window. "Nothing. Come on, tell me." I said it's nothing. "Yeah, right. I'm not happy is written all over your face." Khloe huffed and muttered, "Jerk, you can't be serious." Wyatt sounded exasperated. "I was working today. I deliberately stayed away from the backstage area all day, just so you wouldn't call me a jerk. So you don't want to go backstage and see all those models, didn't you?" "I never said that. You just did." Wyatt wisely cut himself off. He knew there was no winning this argument with logic. Instead, he reached over and patted her thigh twice. All right, I'm sorry. I'll be more careful next time. Okay? What do you want for dinner?" Khloe was still sulking. After the rehearsal ended, "Why did those girls still come up to talk to you?" "They wanted to see the playback, and you were laughing and talking with them." "That's completely unfair. They came up to me. I can't just ignore them. And am I supposed to cry when I talk to people?" Khloe turned her head away again. Wyatt poked her. She flinched away. He poked her again. She twisted her body away. He sighed. "Fine. I'll call the lady boss right now and tell her I quit. I'll tell her to find someone else." And if she asks why, I'll say it's because my girlfriend got jealous. Don't you dare. Then what do you want me to do? Khloe knew she was being unreasonable and didn't want anyone else to know. Her jealousy was just her way of telling Wyatt that she didn't like seeing him so close to other girls and that he needed to comfort her more. She thought for a moment. I want fried rice. The kind you make. Okay. And after this event is over, we're going swimming together. Deal. I've been wanting to do that for a while. Really? Of course. You in a swimsuit look way better than any of those models or influencers. That's more like it. A faint smile appeared on Khloe's lips as she turned her head back. After they got home, Wyatt started making rice. He'd been working all afternoon without a break, and the rice alone took half an hour. By the time he'd finished stir-frying 2 plates of fried rice, it was nearly 10 o'clock. Smells so good. I'm exhausted today, Wyatt said. After we eat, you go shower first. I'll clean up and then come up. Let's get to bed early. Okay. Your mom sent me a message earlier. What did she say? She asked if we'd eaten. Should I tell her we're eating now? No. If you reply this late, my mom will think. Wyatt's eyes widened. Don't tell me you think your mom still believes you're living here all by yourself. Khloe stared back at him, her expression saying, well, yeah. When your mom left, she specifically told me that you sleep with the AC on full blast and you kick off your blankets. She told me to watch over you at night. What? And did you not notice? Before she left, your mom plugged the security camera back in. Khloe glanced at the camera on the shelf, her eyes growing even wider. So, all this time, the things we've been doing at home. My mom might have seen everything. Her face flushed crimson. She took a moment to process this, then suddenly reached out and twisted Wyatt's ear. Why didn't you tell me sooner? She demanded. You never asked. You idiot. Ow, ow, ow. Let's eat first, okay? Please. Khloe ate about half her food, dumped the rest onto Wyatt's plate, and immediately ran upstairs. After Wyatt finished eating and tidied up the kitchen, he replied to a few work messages, locked the doors and windows, and headed up as well. By then, Khloe was already lying in bed, her mind racing with images of her mother watching the security footage, kissing on the sofa, kissing at the dinner table, countless loving hugs. The thought that a third person had witnessed these intimate moments, and that person was her own mother, made her want to burrow under the covers and never come out. But Wyatt, infuriatingly, was acting like nothing was wrong. The contrast only made her angrier. The moment he lay down beside her, she bit him. He didn't cry out in pain. He just did what he always did, turning on his side and pulling her into his arms. Khloe quickly let it go. What was done was done. What else could she do? Can I ask you something? Go ahead. Are those Balenciaga stockings in the closet yours? They're still in the box. You went through my closet. I saw them by accident. Don't go through my things without my permission again. Don't you want to try them on? No. But I do. Shut up and go to sleep. But we'll talk about it tomorrow. Fine. Tomorrow it is. In Philadelphia, that night, Sophie quietly pushed her bedroom door open. Peeking through the crack, she saw her mom was still on the sofa watching TV, while her dad had already gone to bed. She tiptoed out and sat down next to Teresa, pretending to watch TV with her. It didn't take long for her to be found out. All right, what is it? He. Sophie sidled up to her mom, wrapping an arm around hers. Mom, there's still more than 2 weeks of summer break left. Can I go on a trip with Leo? Where to? The Poconos. Aren't the Poconos near Riverwood? Yeah. Are you ready? Teresa looked down at her daughter. Sophie blushed and looked away. It's just a few days away. What is there to be ready for? You think I'm an easy one to convince, don't you? That's why you waited until your dad was gone to talk to me. Oh, Mom, when are you leaving? Tomorrow. So soon. We already bought the tickets. And what if your dad and I said no? Then I'd sneak out, Sophie said defiantly. Teresa slapped her daughter playfully on the backside. Getting bold, are we? Making plans without even asking. So, Mom, you'll talk to Dad for me, right? Yes. Seeing her mom nod, Sophie quickly got up, kissed her on the cheek, and skipped back to her room. Teresa turned off the TV and went to her own room. Was I right? Her husband asked. You were. See? I knew Leo never left. I knew they had plans. Where's she going with him? The Poconos, which basically means she's going to Riverwood. So that means, if she wants to go, just let her go. In the next room, Sophie excitedly shared the good news with Leo, who was still at his hotel. He had been terrified her parents would say no. A moment later, a message from his future father-in-law popped up on his phone. Be back before the 20th. And no sleeping in the same room. 2 minutes after that, another message came, this one from his future mother-in-law. Travel safely. And say hello to your parents for us. Leo quickly replied to both messages, his heart pounding in his chest. August 7th marked the official start of autumn on the calendar, but the temperature still soared into the high 90s. Vivian spent the day meeting with special guests and members of the media. The next evening, besides those attendees, several high-level city officials would also be present. Vivian hadn't invited them. They had reached out to the company on their own, a gesture of respect for her father and brother. Wyatt, enjoying a rare moment of peace, slept in until 9. After arriving at the venue, he held another meeting with the department heads to go over emergency procedures for that evening. Around noon, he received an unexpected call. It was Victor. Victor, you're telling me you're in Riverwood right now. Ever since joining the family business, almost everyone called him Mr. You except for his parents and a few elders. Hearing Wyatt call him Victor felt strange for a second, but he found he quite liked it. Calling him bro would have sounded forced. Mr. You was too formal. Victor was just right, respectful, but not stuffy, despite their age difference. Yes, I'm at the hotel right in front of you. Let's have lunch. You pick the place, my treat. Riverwood is my turf. No way I'm letting you pay. Where should I meet you? I'm coming down now. Just wait for me at the hotel entrance. Got it. After hanging up, Wyatt immediately called Vivian. Hey, lady boss, where are you? Still at the office. Quick, I'm sending you a location. We're all having lunch together. Are you delirious from all the work? Vivian said, exasperated. We have so many guests today. How could I possibly have time for lunch with you? Crap, I forgot about that. Wyatt quickly hung up, thinking Victor didn't come all the way to Riverwood just for work. There's still a chance. He waited at the hotel entrance for a few minutes before Victor emerged. He was about the same height as Wyatt, but his upbringing and years in the corporate world gave him a powerful, commanding presence. It was the kind of aura that, while attracting many women who dreamed of marrying up, also intimidated most of them from making a move. Victor, I saw the rehearsal last night. You did a great job. Just a small-time gig. Wyatt asked curiously, what brings you to Riverwood? Every year around this time, corporate sends people to inspect the hotels in the field for a month. This year, I'm in charge. I've never been to this area, so I thought I'd come check it out. Just then, a black Audi A6 pulled up to the entrance. The hotel valet got out and respectfully handed the keys to Victor. Let's take my car. Sure. Victor got in the driver's seat, Wyatt took the passenger side, and Khloe sat behind Wyatt. The car wasn't new, but it was spotless inside and out. After Wyatt put a restaurant into the GPS, Victor started a conversation. You planned this whole runway show? Yep. Typed out the entire proposal myself, word by word. It's no wonder you were able to build a business from scratch. I just never pictured you investing in a clothing company. It's a long story, Wyatt began. The summer after I graduated high school, I worked at a music lounge. The owner of that lounge is now the CEO of this company. After I went to college in New York, business at the lounge started to decline. She studied fashion design in college, so I suggested she switch careers. To build it to this scale in such a short time is impressive. I just called to invite her, but she's tied up with guests today and couldn't get away. When I'm done with my work, I'll ask her out myself, Victor interrupted. Hearing that, Wyatt instantly understood. So he began to tell Victor the story that Hannah had once told him, the story about Vivian's deceased fiancé. It was only then that Khloe realized what Wyatt was doing. He was playing matchmaker for Vivian and this Victor. You know, they do seem like a good match, she thought. On the highway, Sophie finished a bag of fries in an episode of her show. How much longer? Leo glanced at the GPS. Not long now. We should get to Riverwood around 4:30. You didn't tell your parents you were coming back today, did you? Nope. You told me not to. Good, Sophie nodded. But I did tell my parents about this before summer break started. Tell them what? That I was bringing you back to Riverwood. Who told you to say that? Sophie knew that coming to Riverwood meant meeting Leo's parents was unavoidable. She was prepared, but she didn't want it to be so sudden. She wanted the meeting to be a bit more elegant. After some thought, she called Khloe. Hey, Sophie. Khloe, I'm almost in Riverwood. You said you were living alone, right? Can I stay at your place tonight? Wyatt grabbed the phone. No, you can't. If you stay, where do I sleep? Wyatt, get lost. I wasn't talking to you, Sophie retorted. Oh, fine, Wyatt laughed. There's a guest room downstairs. You can sleep there. When are you and Leo getting here? About half an hour. So are you going to Leo's house tonight? Nope, Sophie said. Then, worried she might have hurt Leo's feelings, she pouted and added, I'll go tomorrow for lunch. Want to come over to my parents for dinner tonight, then? Wyatt suggested. Is Khloe going to be there? Sophie asked. Duh, of course she is. Okay, see you in a bit. See you. Leo thought the arrangement was perfect. Sophie would stay at Khloe's tonight. He'd go home and give his parents a heads up, and they could all meet for lunch tomorrow. It gave everyone time to prepare without being rushed. After hanging up, Sophie asked curiously, So, has Wyatt been living with Khloe all summer? Probably. Khloe's mom works out of town, and her dad doesn't live with them. From the way Wyatt talks, it sounds like they've been together the whole time. That's so unfair. What's unfair about it? They're at that stage in their relationship. It's totally normal. Seeing the envious look on Leo's face, Sophie reached over and pinched his ear. So you're jealous of Wyatt, is that it? She asked, her voice feigning fierceness. Yeah, Leo blurted out. You. Sophie's face flushed. She let go of his ear and huffed. I knew it. You guys are all the same. Wyatt said that if a guy doesn't want to sleep with his girlfriend, there are only two possibilities, Leo argued reasonably. What two possibilities? Either he's gay, or he's cheating. You need to stop listening to Wyatt's twisted logic. Call my mom. Tell her you're bringing your friends over for dinner tonight, and ask her to make a couple of extra dishes. No, you call her. You do it. Come on, you do it. Ask me nicely. Khloe stood in front of Wyatt, blinking her eyes and grabbing his hand pitifully. Please. Only then did Wyatt pick up his phone and call his mother. Hey, sweetie. Mom, can you make a couple extra dishes tonight? I'm craving barbecue ribs and pulled pork. Eat, eat, eat. That's all you ever think about. Sarah immediately launched into tirade. All you have to do is open your mouth and say what you want. And who has to cook it for me? I must have owed you in a past life. She went on for what felt like an eternity. Finally, Wyatt couldn't take it anymore. It's not for me, it's for Khloe. Well, why didn't you say so? Mom, so if I want to eat, you give me a lecture, but if Khloe wants to eat, you don't say a word? That really hurts my feelings. Other families have mother-in-law problems. You can't be too nice to Khloe, or I'll have no standing in this house. I'll get lost. And Khloe's college friend is coming over tonight, too, Wyatt added with a laugh. Then I'm calling your father right now to have him go grocery shopping. Great. I'll pick up some roast duck and beef brisket on the way back. After hanging up, Wyatt didn't stay at the office much longer. He and Khloe headed home. Just after 5, Leo finally pulled up to the building with Sophie. When Wyatt came downstairs and saw Leo carrying a case of beer and a pie, he rolled his eyes. Are you crazy? You don't need to bring stuff to my house. I told him it was fine, Sophie sighed, but he insisted since it was his first time visiting. Sophie, you're making it weird, Wyatt said. I've practically known Leo since he was in diapers. Hey, why does that sound so weird? What do you mean you've known me since I was in diapers? Did you stop growing up or something? Shut up and let's go upstairs. Khloe was happy to see her college classmate in Riverwood. As soon as they got inside, she introduced Sophie to Wyatt's parents. She's also Leo's girlfriend, Wyatt added in a low voice. Hearing this, Sarah immediately grabbed Sophie's hands, looked her up and down, and started peppering her with questions. It made Sophie a little flustered, but she quickly told herself, just think of it as a rehearsal for meeting the real in-laws. While Sarah and David were busy in the kitchen, Wyatt got the full scoop on Leo's performance in Philadelphia. Sophie recounted every embarrassing moment, which had Wyatt and Khloe practically dying of laughter. After dinner, Leo sat for a while before getting ready to head home. Wyatt grabbed his car keys and walked downstairs with Khloe and Sophie. So, I'll come get you guys around 8 tomorrow morning? Sound good. All right, I'm heading out. Leo waved and prepared to walk home. I have a car, Wyatt said quickly. Just take mine. How else are you going to get here tomorrow morning? Okay, that works. Leo drove off. Wyatt then drove Khloe and Sophie over to Maple Creek Estates. At the same time, the moment they had left, Sarah immediately dialed Leo's mother, Helen. Hey, Helen, are you home? I am. What's up? I just met your Leo's girlfriend. She's gorgeous, so fair-skinned, speaks so softly, and has such lovely manners. What? Helen nearly jumped out of her seat. They just left after dinner. She said they're coming to your place for lunch tomorrow, so you'll have some time to prepare. I see my son pulling up now. I gotta go. Okay. During her freshman year, Sophie and the other roommates had already guessed from Khloe's belongings that her family was well off. So, as the car entered Maple Creek Estates and pulled into the driveway of a large villa, Sophie wasn't surprised, just a little nervous. Are your parents really not home? Nope. Wyatt expertly parked the car in the driveway. After getting out, he took the keys Khloe fished out of her purse and unlocked the front door. Sophie followed them inside. Seeing the matching couple's slippers by the door and the couple's mugs on the coffee table, she felt like she'd just been force-fed another dose of their PDA. Wyatt, you're not going home tonight? Wyatt plopped down on the sofa matter-of-factly. This is my home. Sophie rolled her eyes. I must be sick, asking you such a stupid question. Khloe, however, looked a bit embarrassed. She poured Sophie a glass of water and led her to the first-floor guest room that had originally been intended for Wyatt. No one's ever stayed in here. The sheets are clean. You can sleep here tonight. Sophie glanced at the color of the duvet cover. This was meant for Wyatt, wasn't it? Does your mom know you two are living together? She knows. Seriously? Your mom is way too cool. Khloe looked at Sophie, confused, not quite getting it. What does she mean my mom is too cool? So you're not against it? You just haven't been allowed? Sophie put her luggage in the room and returned to the living room. Khloe went to the kitchen to cut some fruit for her, but she forgot that they had finished all the fresh fruit yesterday. All that was left was a jar of canned peaches she'd picked up at the store. Khloe took the jar from the fridge, walked over to the sofa, and handed it to Wyatt. He took it and tried to twist the lid a couple of times. Seeing him fail, Sophie let out a derisive chuckle. My hands are slippery, Wyatt said, making an excuse. I'm gonna go wash them. With that, he got up and went to the kitchen. Khloe, seeing her chance, gave the lid a twist. Perhaps Wyatt had already loosened it, because with her turn, the jar opened. Whoa! Both Khloe and Sophie were stunned. Just as Wyatt was about to walk out of the kitchen, Khloe quickly twisted the lid back on tight. Sophie was completely bewildered. Wyatt came out of the kitchen, walked straight to Khloe, took the jar of peaches, and with a mighty twist, opened it. Well, he asked like a proud fool. Pretty impressive, right? Khloe beamed. So impressive. Sophie's mind was buzzing. What? What is this move? Khloe, oh, Khloe, since when did you start playing these kinds of games? Sophie suddenly regretted coming to stay at Khloe's house. Watching Wyatt and Khloe being so disgustingly cute, she felt brighter than a chandelier in the living room. Remembering a popular phrase she'd seen online recently, she suddenly clutched her head and yelled dramatically, Mom, the city is full of traps. I want to go back to the country. Wyatt was baffled. What's with her? Khloe shook her head, trying to stifle a laugh. It's nothing. She gets like this in the dorm all the time. The next day, after Leo and Sophie left Maple Creek Estates, Wyatt and Khloe headed to the office. As soon as they arrived, Carla Jones from Business Relations brought Wyatt good news. Wyatt, YouTube is going to promote our live stream tonight. Our stream should hit the homepage. Excellent. Also, Viven invited a lot of reporters from fashion magazines. Make sure you build a good relationship with them over the next couple of days. Build a good relationship? Wyatt rolled his eyes. It means find a way to butter them up. Get them to write glowing reviews. Any expenses incurred will be covered by the company. Got it. Got it. As they were talking, Wanda from the logistics team hurried over. Wyatt, it looks like we're going to have more people at the venue tonight than we expected. Our team seems understaffed. I'll contact the hotel and ask to borrow some of their security staff. You can coordinate with them this afternoon. Okay, Wyatt. While Wyatt was swamped, Sophie was finally meeting Leo's parents. Helen and Sarah were both classic social butterflies. Over the course of their conversation, Helen's name for Sophie changed several times. At first, it was just Sophie. Then it became Dear. Finally, it was Sweetheart. Leo's scalp tingled. I haven't even called her Sweetheart yet, he thought. After lunch, Sophie felt like she was sitting on pins and needles. She started shooting Leo meaningful looks. He got the hint and stood up. Mom, I made plans with Wyatt to hang out this afternoon. We're heading out. Are you coming home for dinner? We'll see. I'll call ahead. Leo and Sophie quickly made their escape. Paul, his father, chuckled. Your son is finally learning how to read the room. That a good thing. A man who listens to his wife will go far. Then why am I still so broke? Helen shot her husband a glare, then quickly instructed him. You can't be stingy when they're dating. Go on, Venmo your son some money. What money? Oh, keep acting. You want me to go over the grocery receipts with you? Don't think I don't know how much you've been skimming off the top. The afternoon was even more hectic. Wyatt and his team arrived at the venue early to prepare. To ensure a smooth live stream, the logistics crew had already set up barriers around the pool to prevent unauthorized access. When Leo and Sophie arrived, they joined Khloe, Mandy, and Riley in a shady spot. Around 5 o'clock, Wyatt finally got a moment to breathe. Wyatt, what time does the runway show start tonight? Sophie asked. At 7, the guests start arriving, walk the red carpet, and sign the board. That's just a formality. The event officially begins at 7:30 and should last about 35 minutes. Oh, it's probably going to be standing room only tonight. Stick with me and don't wander off. Wyatt squinted at the 2 azure pools in the distance, a smile playing on his lips. I have a feeling this show is going to be a huge success. Khloe glanced at Wyatt, gently fanning him with a promotional fan. After 6 o'clock, the sky began to darken. By 7, it was completely dark, and the venue was illuminated by bright lights. Guests began to walk the red carpet and enter. While there were no A-list celebrities, the sense of occasion was palpable. The audience seating flanked the pool, with room for about 400 people. Wyatt, wearing Khloe's sun hat, stood in front of monitors, speaking into his walkie-talkie. All departments in position. Lighting is set. Sound is set. Cameras are set. Live stream is set. Backstage is ready. Everyone stay calm, Wyatt reminded them. Just follow the plan from our last rehearsal. Roger, Roger. Counting down. 10, 9, 8. All the lights went out. The three YouTubers walked onto the stage. A split second before the lights came back on, the dynamic music once again filled the venue. The rehearsal had lacked an audience, and it felt like something was missing. But tonight was perfect. As the spotlights hit the three dancers who were performing in Viven's branded swimwear, the atmosphere immediately caught fire. On the YouTube livestream page, the official company channel quickly shot to the homepage. At first, there were only a dozen or so viewers. 30 seconds later, there were over 300. The influencers already had a fan base, and the stream's thumbnail was eye-catching. From there, the viewer count began to grow exponentially. Halfway through their performance, the models began to take the stage. The live chat was surprisingly harmonious, a cascade of fire emojis, and let's go. Most of the live audience were from the fashion industry. When they realized tonight's models had a completely different style from the norm, they were refreshed. Typically, major domestic brands would hire models with highly distinctive, angular features, or even a large number of foreign models. But this swimsuit show was different. Every model had a face that perfectly aligned with classic American beauty standards. It was Sophie's first time at an event like this. After watching curiously for a while, she turned to say something to Leo, only to find him staring, mesmerized, at the stage. She immediately clapped a hand over his eyes and whispered menacingly in his ear, "You are not allowed to look. If you keep looking, you're done for." Leo was completely mortified. How come Wyatt gets to stare openly at them? On the livestream chat. Nice. Love to see it. Welp, I'm stuck in this stream forever now. I don't get why other brands have to hire a bunch of foreign models for these things. Isn't this kind of show way better? I'm in love with that last girl. This is what real beauty looks like. I must have done good deeds my whole life to have stumbled upon this stream. Why are there so many people in here? Steve from Delta House at ASU. Get back to studying. Eggplant sweat droplets, /eggplant, /water_drop, /eggplant. I want them all. So big. So pale. So beautiful. Guys, we're at 600,000 viewers. Wyatt monitored the stream's data while constantly instructing the camera crew to switch shots. After the models finished their walk, all 60 of them filed out again, lining up in the center of the two pools, facing the audience. Many in the crowd were taking photos with their phones, flashes popping everywhere. At this moment, Viven walked onto the stage, her heart pounding. Following the script Wyatt had given her, she gave a brief, eloquent summary and thanked the guests. The show was nearly over. Wyatt saw his cue and began counting down under his breath. 3, 2, 1. On one, with a collective shriek of laughter, all the models jumped into the pools. Cut to camera 8. Get the drone in there. Wyatt yelled into his walkie-talkie. The scene on the live stream became even more tantalizing. This was a new segment Wyatt had added after the first rehearsal, and it proved to be a masterstroke. The viewer count soared past 1 million, and the chat became a unified wall of text. A dense flood of degeneracy and simp heaven almost completely obscured the screen. The show lasted 40 minutes. When Wyatt finally spoke the words, "That's a wrap," into his walkie-talkie, he let out a huge sigh of relief. Wyatt didn't worry about the cleanup. That night, the operations team added subtitles to the full live stream replay and uploaded it to all major social media platforms. In just one night, it garnered countless comments and likes across the web. On YouTube alone, the video surpassed 800,000 views overnight and was trending the next day. Viven could have never dreamed that the event would generate this much influence for her brand. Dork, dork. The next morning, Wyatt slowly opened his eyes, groggily hearing someone calling his name. Khloe handed him his phone. "Your phone has been ringing off the hook. The lady boss called you too." Wyatt called Viven back. The moment she answered, her voice was electric. "Wyatt, do you have any idea how many swimsuits we sold last night?" "How many?" "Over 30,000 orders." Viven laughed. "And the orders are still pouring in. We might not have enough stock to cover it. Stay calm. My job is done. I'm not coming into the office every day for a while. I need a break." "Okay, talk to you later. I have another call." After hanging up, Wyatt was about to pull Khloe back in his arms for a little more sleep when a knock came at the door, followed by Sophie's voice. "It's 9:30. Are you two still not up? The sun is burning a hole in the sky." Khloe, embarrassed, got out of bed and opened the door. Sophie glanced at Wyatt on the bed, then back at Khloe, and grumbled, "I am so done with you two." "So, what are your plans with Leo today?" Khloe asked, quickly changing the subject. "He's on his way with breakfast. After I eat, we're heading straight to the Poconos." Oh, your button's undone. Khloe looked down and quickly fastened the button on her collar. Around 10:30, Leo and Sophie left for the Poconos. Wyatt, full and content, prepared to enjoy a few days of quality time alone with Khloe. As the sun began to set, the maple leaves in the neighborhood were starting to show hints of red. On the top floor of the Gold River Hotel, Victor Yu sent a message to Viven. Victor Yu, are you free tonight? Viven had been working all day and felt lightheaded and famished. When she saw Victor's message, she hesitated, unsure how to reply. While she was hesitating, a second message came through. Victor Yu, if you're busy, that's okay. Last night's event was a great success. I watched the whole thing. Viven typed back, where should we meet? Seeing her reply, a rare smile spread across Victor's face. He had been there last night, in person, and had seen Viven give the final speech. Sometimes life was strange. There were people everyone thought were wonderful, but you just didn't feel it. And then there were people you met for the first time who could make your heart skip a beat. Victor Yu, I don't know Riverwood well. Send me your company's address, and I'll pick you up. How's that sound? Viven considered it. A simple dinner together wasn't a big deal. So, she sent him the company's address. 15 minutes later. Victor Yu, I'm here. Viven, I'll be right down. Viven pulled out her makeup bag for a quick touch-up, then took the elevator to the ground floor. As soon as she stepped out of the building, she saw a black Audi parked at the curb. Victor got out of the car and greeted her. Hello, I'm Victor Yu. Viven felt a little dazed for a moment before snapping back to reality with a small laugh. After they got in the car, Viven chose a restaurant she frequented. As Victor put it into the GPS, he asked, last night's event got a great market response. That Wyatt is a real business genius. Yes, he's always been very smart, but swimwear is such a niche category. If you want to... Before Victor could finish, Viven interrupted with a smile. We have another product launch in October. We'll be introducing our sub-brand, YW. It's focused on the high-end market. That was his idea, too. Victor chuckled to himself. She already has a master strategist. What am I doing trying to give her advice? If you hadn't rented the venue to us, this event wouldn't have gone so smoothly. Thank you. Actually, your event brought a lot of business to the hotel. At best, it was a partnership. You don't need to thank me. Can I ask how old you are? 34. Then do you know? I know. Oh. The atmosphere in the car suddenly became awkward. Fortunately, they soon arrived at the restaurant. After they were seated and Viven had ordered, Victor continued, I didn't finish what I was saying earlier. Viven looked at him puzzled. You asked if I knew your age, Victor said with a small smile. I only said that I knew, but what I really meant was, I don't mind that you're a few years older than me. Viven was stunned. To her, that sounded incredibly forward. She suddenly felt nervous, unsure what to say. She looked down at the QR code sticker on the corner of the table, her hands clasped together, her heart pounding. Victor continued, I'm heading back to New York tomorrow afternoon. I'm a very direct person, so I want to be clear with you. I hope you don't mind. I've learned about your general situation from Wyatt, and I think you're wonderful. I know it would be unreliable to say this is love after just meeting, so I'd like to get to know you better. If you feel the same way, you can send me a comma tomorrow morning to show we can move forward. If you feel we're not a good fit, you can send me a period to show you'd rather not continue. I'll respect your choice. Is that okay? Viven looked up at Victor and silently nodded. The food in Riverwood is a bit spicy, he commented, changing the subject. The last time I had something this spicy was in Louisiana. But at least there, the peppers are a side dish. I had a spicy chicken dish yesterday, where I could barely find any chicken in the mountain of chili peppers. It's like that here. Do you usually eat out more, or at home? Mostly takeout. You. Breakfast and dinner at home. Lunch at the company cafeteria. Has your family ever pressured you about getting married? No. Why? Victor smiled. As long as I can remember, I've made all my own choices. And so far, all my choices have turned out to be the right ones. So, my parents trust my judgment. I always thought that in families like yours, everything was arranged. You've been watching too many TV shows. Maybe. They chatted pleasantly, the conversation flowing easily. But just as the meal was ending, Viven made a strange request. Can you take off your glasses for me to see? Though he didn't understand, Victor took them off. Viven stared at him for a good 5 or 6 seconds, then finally nodded with a smile and said, Thank you. Viven couldn't remember the last time she'd had dinner alone with a man. The feeling was strange, wonderful. Victor's qualifications were impeccable by any standard. An Ivy League education, a wealthy family, a good character, and a refined manner of speaking. Viven couldn't find a single flaw in him. The moment she first saw him in front of her office, her heart had indeed skipped a beat. But after dinner, Back home and calmed down, Vivian still felt they were from two different worlds. With age, she had become increasingly rational about love. She knew what she wanted and what she didn't. Victor was great, perfect in every way, but she still felt a vast distance between them. At the same time, she knew that if she gave him a chance, that distance could be closed very quickly. But she no longer wanted to make that kind of effort. She was afraid that in the end, it would just be another tragedy. Whenever Vivian's thoughts started to spiral, she'd have trouble sleeping. That's why she always kept a bottle of red wine in her room. Only after a glass or two could she finally drift off. She leaned against her headboard in a silk nightgown, swirling the wine in her glass, her gaze lost in the twinkling city lights outside her window. For some reason, the more she drank tonight, the clearer her mind became. Images from the past began to surface, a single figure appearing in every memory. When Vivian realized she could barely recall his face anymore, she frantically pulled open a drawer and took out a faded, old photograph. Back when she was Wyatt's age, phones were still non-smart flip phones. She once had a whole drawer full of photo booth strips, but with time, they had all faded. Only this one, a proper print from a Photoshop, remained. But even now it was yellowed at the edges. Without his glasses, he does look a little bit like him. But he wasn't him. The person you truly love in your youth stays with you for a lifetime. Vivian didn't want to start a new love story while carrying such heavy baggage. This is for the best, she thought, as she lay down, tears soaking her pillow in her dreams. The next day, the sun rose as usual. Tom was always so cruel. The moment Victor opened his eyes, he was out of bed. He never lazed around. He believed that once you were awake, staying in bed was a waste of time. He was meticulous about his schedule, waking up, eating, and sleeping at the same fixed times every day. After changing, he neatly made the bed, even though he was in a hotel. He had a habit of keeping his surroundings in perfect order. At 7 o'clock, room service delivered his breakfast. Victor ate slowly and methodically while checking his emails. His high-speed train back to New York was at noon, but the ride to the station would take half an hour, meaning he had to leave by 11:30 at the latest. After breakfast, he sat quietly, phone in hand, waiting for Vivian's message. At the same time, Vivian had just woken up. She glanced at the clock and didn't waste any energy trying to recall her dream from the night before. She rushed out of bed, grabbed a piece of toast, and drove to the office. Morning, Vivian. Morning, Vivian. Morning. Bring yesterday's sales data to my office. As the factory started restocking the swimwear, Vivian quickly threw herself into her work. She enjoyed the process. When she was busy at the office, she didn't think about anything unrelated to work. 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. 3 hours passed in the blink of an eye for Vivian. But for Victor, waiting in his hotel room, those 3 hours felt excruciatingly long. He glanced at the time, wondering if he should send her a message, but then considered that she might still be thinking, so he held back. It was at that moment that Vivian suddenly remembered what Victor had said the night before. She glanced at the time, hurriedly picked up her phone, and opened her chat with him. Her eyes stared at the comma and period on the keyboard, unable to make a decision. She had already decided to say no. But when it came to actually making the choice, she was deeply conflicted. She knew a man like Victor was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But Vivian felt like her mind was in chaos. After a long internal battle, she finally, with some difficulty, typed a period into the message box. After sending it, Vivian felt a profound sense of loss. She turned off her phone, trying to focus on work, but found it impossible. Victor stared at the period Vivian had sent. Though he had been prepared for it, seeing the message still stung. For the first time, he began to doubt himself. He wondered, what did I do wrong yesterday? Finally, he sighed, rose from the sofa, left the hotel, and got into a car heading to the train station. On the way, Wyatt called. Hey, Victor, what's up? Nothing much, just wondering what your plans are for today. Oh, I'm on my way to the station now. Heading back to New York. You've already met with the lady boss. Yeah, and she rejected you again? Yeah, Victor replied with a bitter smile. So you're just leaving like that? What else is there to do? Wyatt paused for a moment. I thought you were like me, the type who doesn't give up until you get what you want. I'm not the kind of person who keeps pestering someone after they've been rejected. Have you ever thought that maybe it's not that she doesn't have feelings for you, but that she just hasn't moved on from her past? A new wound is easy to heal, but an old scar is hard to fade. You know what I mean? You're saying I should try again? Victor said with a wry smile. If you wrote an essay and didn't get a perfect score, wouldn't you want to know why the grader marked you down? Victor was taken aback. He hung up the phone. 5 minutes later, turn the car around. Sir, the station is just ahead. I said, turn the car around. Yes, mister. You. Where are we going now? To the tech park. After canceling his train ticket back to New York, Victor added, but first, stop at a flower shop. Yes, sir. Victor sent a message to Wyatt. Tell me the exact location. Wyatt replied, Riverwood Tech Park, Building A, 7th floor. Turn left out of the elevator. It's the office at the very end. Wyatt added, she likes Lysianthus, not red roses. By the time Victor arrived at the company's building, it was nearly noon. Many of the offices upstairs had already let out for lunch, and employees were pouring out of the building in groups, heading off to eat. When Victor stepped out of his car holding a bouquet of Lysianthus, he immediately became the center of attention. Look, he's so handsome. Which company is he from? I've never seen him before. Probably doesn't work in our building. If he gave me those flowers, I'd marry him on the spot. In your dreams. Victor ignored the stairs and walked into the elevator. Since it was lunchtime, he was the only one going up. He pressed the button for the 7th floor, still trying to rehearse what he would say. When the elevator doors opened, he was greeted by a group of women standing by the entrance. Seeing Victor, the female employees of Vivian's company all looked starstruck. He stepped out, and instead of getting in, they all turned and followed him back toward the office, their curiosity piqued. Under the gaze of dozens of people, Victor walked to the office at the very end of the hall and knocked twice. I said I'm not eating lunch, Vivian called out, assuming it was her assistant, Pam, nagging her again. The next second, the office door was pushed open from the outside. Victor looked at Vivian, who was still staring blankly at her phone. He took 2 steps forward, closed the door behind him, and said, I'm sorry. Vivian's head shot up. Seeing Victor, her brain completely shut down for 3 seconds. Didn't you already? I want to take back what I said last night. A single dinner isn't enough for us to get to know each other. I've never pursued a woman before, but I felt it wouldn't be right to come empty-handed, so I bought you these flowers. Also, on the way here, I suddenly understood why you asked me to take off my glasses last night. I want to say, I can never be him, but I will try my best to care for you the way he would have. I think. He wouldn't want you to be all alone. Vivian covered her mouth and turned away, fat tears streaming down her face. She sobbed twice, then choked out, Can you please leave for a minute? Victor placed the flowers on her desk and backed out of the office. About 5 minutes later, Vivian opened the door. Her tears were dry, but her eyes were still red, so she didn't dare meet his gaze. She laughed self-deprecatingly. Do you have any idea how hard it is to pursue an old maid like me, who people on the street call ma'am? I won't back down from a challenge. Besides, you don't need to talk about yourself like that. I think you're. Let's go. Let's get lunch. Okay. As they walked into the elevator, none of the onlookers followed. On the ground floor, just as they stepped out of the building, Vivian, a familiar voice called out. Vivian turned and saw her brother, her face suddenly filled with panic. Peter walked up, carrying a thermal lunch container, and looked Victor up and down with a cheerful smile. Vivian, who's this? He's. Hello. My name is Victor. Hello. Peter glanced at Vivian, then back at Victor, and asked with a grin, Are you two heading to lunch? Yes. Peter quickly hid the lunch container behind his back and waved them off good-naturedly. You two go on. I was just stopping by to check in. Victor held the car, door open. Vivian, mortified, got in, and they quickly drove away. As he watched them leave, Peter stopped one of the company's employees. Let me ask you, he said with great interest, that guy just now, what's his relationship with your boss? We don't know either, but he just brought Vivian a bouquet of flowers. Really, we all saw it. Good. Peter turned and walked away, excitedly calling his parents. Dad, I have great news. Vivian is really dating someone this time. It's true. I'm not mistaken this time. I saw it with my own eyes. He's handsome, tall, said his name is Victor Yu. I'll run his information through the system at the office when I get back. Okay. I'll tell you all about it when I get home. That person just now was my brother. Oh, does he bring you lunch every day? Not really. I haven't been home for a meal in a long time, so he came to find me. He's usually very busy too. After a brief silence, Vivian took the initiative. Your work must be very demanding too, right? Victor nodded. Seeing that Vivian had nothing more to say, he took out his phone, opened his contacts, and called his mother. Hello, Victor. Mom, I need to tell you something. Go on. I might be staying in Riverwood for a while. I'm not sure how long. Can you let Dad know? And have Andrew Zhang take over my duties temporarily? I'll call him tonight. Why? I thought you were coming back on the 10th. I met a girl I like, Victor said with a smile. I want to pursue her. Hearing this, Vivian subconsciously tightened her grip on her purse, her heart thumping, her eyes drifting out the window. Really? Yes. Just as his mother was about to speak, his sister, Judy, snatched the phone and shouted excitedly, Bro, does that mean you can bring my sister-in-law home for the holidays? I'm about to eat. I'll talk to you later. Beep, beep, beep. Judy saw he had hung up and rolled her eyes. My brother is so annoying. He didn't even explain. Her mother, Julia, gently tapped her daughter's nose with a fond smile. If your brother finds someone, you shouldn't keep dragging your feet either. Mom, what are you talking about? I'm only 18. 18? Aren't you ashamed of saying that all the time? You kids. Julia watched her daughter go upstairs. Thinking about what her son had just said, she couldn't help but smile happily. At nearly 60, who wouldn't want to hold a grandchild? She had never pressured him, because she knew her son had always been independent, and love couldn't be forced. Now, finally, there was hope. Julia quietly sent her son a message. Victor, if you like her, pursue her boldly. Mom will always support you. As long as you like her, I will too. The following days were relatively calm. Waking up whenever they wanted, eating whatever they wanted, doing whatever they wanted. It was the life most people dreamed of. In the blink of an eye, it was late August. Mandy had to leave early for college orientation. After Leo and Sophie returned from the Poconos, Wyatt had them all drive back to Philadelphia together. When Wyatt found out Miranda was returning from her trip a day early, he dutifully moved back into his own house. The moment he pushed open the door, he was greeted by a sarcastic comment from his mother. Well, look who decided to come back. I thought you'd really gone off to be some other family's live-in son-in-law. Should I leave, then? Wyatt asked, feigning grievance as he stood there with his backpack. Get your butt in here. Wyatt's face immediately broke into a grin. Mom, if you and Dad are bored at home, you could always have another kid. I definitely wouldn't object. Pfft. His dad, David, sprayed a mouthful of water, coughing and rolling his eyes. If you'd said that a few years ago, your mother and I could have given it a try. Now, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Sarah smacked him hard on the back. What nonsense are you talking about? She scolded. Wyatt chuckled, dropped his bag in his room, and came back to sit on the sofa. He was just about to chat with his parents when his phone rang. Seeing it was Sam, he answered quickly. Hey, Sam. Wyatt, I just sent you an email. Take a look. All the Toasties locations turn a profit over the summer. I was thinking maybe we should invest more and turn it into a franchise brand. Okay, I'll look at it in a bit. I did a rough calculation. We'd probably need about $250,000 to get started on the next phase. You don't need to call me for small change like that. You can make that decision yourself. Got it. His parents, listening nearby, were stunned. $250,000? Small change? His father earned maybe $100,000 a year, and that was working himself to the bone. David's mouth moved to ask a question, but Wyatt's phone rang again. This time it was Carter Lou. Hey, I have two pieces of good news. One for the company, one for you. Which do you want to hear first? I saw the news. The bike share startup got $30 million in their Series B, led by Matrix. After dilution, our stake should be worth close to $15 million. Just tell me the good news about me. The other good news is that the New York Venture Capital Association has named you Investor of the Year. Never heard of it. Anything else? Actually, yes. Carter laughed. You told me before to let you know if any good film projects came up. There's a movie that started shooting in June, but they've run out of money halfway through. They desperately need an injection of cash. I heard the director is about to sell his house. What's the movie? Who's the director? Wyatt asked casually. I think the movie is called Section 8. It's supposed to be the second in a series, but the first one didn't do very well, so it's a big risk. The director's name is... I forgot. Invest. We're investing in this movie. You sure? Positive. Carter didn't hesitate. After working together for so long, he was now willing to trust Wyatt's instincts unconditionally. Wyatt put his phone away and turned to see both his parents staring at him with wide eyes. Why are you two looking at me like that? He asked, feigning innocence. Son, just how big is your business now? Let's just say, I'm aiming for our whole family to achieve financial freedom before I turn 25, Wyatt said with a smile, then got up to take a shower. His parents exchanged a look, speechless for a long moment. Wyatt had taken those calls in front of them on purpose. He wanted them to know that he was successful now, that he had made it. The last time they had video chatted with Miranda and Charles, they had been on the defensive. It was unavoidable. Charles was a bank president, Miranda a high-powered executive. They exuded an air of authority, and his father, David, though a public servant, had little influence at work, a classic case of someone just running out the clock. His mother, Sarah, had always worked as an accountant for small companies. Neither of them had ever interacted with people of Charles and Miranda's social standing, so of course they felt constrained. Wyatt chose to reveal his achievements to them over the summer for a reason. He wanted to give them confidence, to make sure they didn't feel like their family was reaching above their station. In his past life, He was the reason his parents couldn't hold their heads high. In this life, Wyatt hoped not only to help them lift their heads, but to make them proud because of him. With Wyatt gone, Khloe was bored. She wanted to video call him, but felt she had been too clingy lately and needed to pull back. So, she opened her dorm group chat. Khloe and everyone, what are you guys up to? Sophie, watching TV. Ashley, +1 Isabelle, on my way home. That idiot Michael. All he knows is to take me home after dinner. It never occurs to him to take me for a walk, look at the stars, anything. He's such a clueless, unromantic blockhead. Khloe, smirking face Khloe. Why don't you just tell him what you want? Isabelle, I'm not going to say it. Just then, Wyatt appeared in the chat. Wyatt, then you have no one to blame but yourself. Wyatt, you know what a man's greatest weakness is. Isabelle, black stockings? Wyatt, Khloe, Sophie, Ashley, Wyatt. Okay, I admit that's one of them. Wyatt, but you have to understand, in a relationship, the more you understand him, the gentler he'll be with you. Wyatt, the more you care for him and look after him, the more he'll love you. Wyatt, the more you try to save him money, the more he'll want to spend on you. Wyatt, you're always the one complaining about what Michael does wrong, but Michael has never once said a bad thing about you. Wyatt, if you want to have him wrapped around your finger, you can't just rely on drama. Isabelle, I was just venting. Okay, Isabelle, let Khloe get your man. Don't let him lecture me like this. Khloe, but I think he's right. Isabelle, you guys. Isabelle was furiously typing a reply when Michael, who was driving, suddenly asked, "What are you doing?" "Chatting with my roommates." Isabelle looked up at Michael, then back down at the messages Wyatt had sent. She turned off her phone and asked gently, "Has work been busy lately?" Michael was surprised. Isabelle rarely asked about his work. He smiled. "It's been okay. There's just this one project I can't seem to land. It's a bit frustrating. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. I can see the dark circles under your eyes. Have you been staying up late? You know what time I go to bed? It's just that when I wake up in the middle of the night, I can't fall back asleep. Insomnia." Isabelle thought for a moment. "Then starting tonight, why don't we call each other and fall asleep on the phone together?" "I'd like that," Michael said, a happy smile finally breaking through his weary expression. He reached out with his right hand and took her left. "I'm so lucky to have you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Isabelle just smiled. That Wyatt guy, she thought his advice is actually pretty useful.